figure we'll be here for a minute. Let me get some water.
Oh, we're gonna be here for a little bit. Hey, everybody, how you doing? This is TruePowerIsMine, and this is TPIM SR Live.
I'm getting some water.
Today, I got a guest on the line. While he's grabbing some water, I want to share with you guys, for all the new listeners who might not know who Mark from Anaheim is, I want to share with you now his bio. Oh, and today's date is October 18, 2019, year of our Lord.
Many of you didn't know, during the early 1990s, Mark from Anaheim joined legendary Vietnam War veteran David Hackworth and others to present an alternative to the John Birch Society far right-wing agenda being presented on talk radio by the likes of Ollie North and G. Gordon Liddy. Mark is both a retired U.S. Marine Corps Mustang infantry officer and a retired LAPD patrol supervisor. He has provided intelligence briefing to the highest-ranking U.S. Armed Forces personnel, assisted both the state of California and the United States Department of Defense rewrite police tactics manuals, and he has provided counterterrorism training to U.S. State Department and NATO personnel. Since retiring, Mark has returned to life as a lazy surfing beach bum, where he spends much of his time coaching and mentoring some of the most successful young female surfers from all around the world. I give you Mark from Anaheim.
What's up?
Well, welcome to the show.
Stay black.
Well, today we have an interesting title. I didn't know exactly where you wanted to start off at.
Do we ever?
But the title is Black Folks Are Quick to Say That Black Folks Get Shot While White Folks Get Taken into Custody.
I don't know about that. All I see is, why are colored folks so damn emotional, man? You know, I posted earlier, well, I guess it's not, this is a new, I may have done it last week. Actually, I talked about it on a radio show a couple weeks ago, but I posted it last week immediately after the tragic shooting down in Fort Worth, Texas, and I stated that generally we as black folks are far more emotional than other people. And you wouldn't believe how many folks, oh, that's a fucking racist post, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, I've only spent my entire life being a colored boy. And I'm talking about colored people. But I'm being a racist. Okay. Because I said, generally speaking, and then I also said in there, all you have to do is go to a funeral. Go to a white funeral and compare that to a black funeral and see who's more emotional. And I'm not talking about a funeral where somebody was killed by a cop. I'm just talking about a funeral in general. Why do you think they bring colored folks into their damn choirs? Because white folks, they sing in their choirs, okay, let's stand up now and sing. They bring some sisters and some brothers, and then all of a sudden they go, damn, people want to come back to church again. Damn, that's why they steal all our black folks from the Christian choirs to go into their damn music industry. They always do that. I mean, you look at all of the major, I'm talking the major black music artists, they were all like Aretha and everybody else. They were all stolen from the church, man.
Ripped off.
Yeah, so anyway, a lot of colored folks got their feelings hurt because I said, generally speaking, we are emotional. I was trained by Nazis, man. They think with their heads, not their hearts. And those who always think with their hearts are easily manipulated.
Yes.
So when you talk about law enforcement, I spent, a quarter of a century in law enforcement. And since I retired back in 2008, I run 5 Facebook sites specifically directed towards law enforcement, 2 of those which are closed to the public. You can't get in unless you are a part of the law enforcement community and have to be personally vetted by myself. So I have literally thousands of cops from around the world. Many of them, by the way, despise me. But they read everything I share because they know I don't share political bullshit. I don't share propaganda. I deal with facts. I deal with history, not his story.
Right.
And I'm talking chiefs of police. I'm talking district attorneys. I'm talking sheriffs, not the deputy sheriffs, I'm talking the sheriffs of cities and counties around this country, along with high-ranking individuals from Interpol in Europe, who read what I share. Because they know if I share it, it's like, I wish I was kidding. Well, I'm not going to say I wish I was kidding, because I'm going to lie to your listeners. For those out there who've never heard me before, don't believe anything I tell you. Just do your own research and see if I'm ever lying to you. But when it comes to these closed Facebook sites that I have, I personally know of certain sheriffs in United States. They actually have somebody assigned from their staff to monitor my Facebook site.
Wow.
Seriously. And there's somebody right now returning to the Los Angeles area who was involved in law enforcement in the LA area, went to San Francisco. Well, I'll come out and tell you. His name is, he was district attorney in San Francisco, Gascon. He's just one of many of the folks who monitor what I read. It's funny, too, because on one of my Facebook sites, some guys were in there talking smack about Gascon. I said, well, since he's in this Facebook site, he's probably finding it very interesting what you have to share today, because the guy wasn't very flattering towards Gascon returning back to Los Angeles. Because they have no idea who's looking at my site. I got guys like, you probably don't even know who he is, but Bernie Park. Bernie Park was the second black chief of LAPD, and then was on the county council for LA for several years. So he's just, I mean, seriously, and I'm not name dropping there. I'm just saying, folks have no idea who read what I share.
Right.
And a lot of things that I share, I find it interesting that the next day or a couple of days later, suddenly is the subject matter in the media. Now, of course, they'll never give me credit for it. But
we got proof though now. They don't need to validate you. We got proof. We got timestamp dates on Facebook. You can listen to some of our past shows. I remember you coming on talking about Jeffrey Epstein. Now, granted, he had a trial, but nobody was really talking about him. Next thing you know, the dude's dead. You was talking about earthquakes on your Facebook page. Next thing you know, they're rocking and shaking down in South America. I mean, you got people all over the world checking out your information, brother.
So the reason I'm saying that is because now, we had Amber, and I'm sure you must. I'm not going to say I sure. I'm not going to say. I would imagine that you probably have some questions for me about Amber and her shooting in Dallas before we get into the Fort Worth.
Yeah, I mean, people have written me, and they really want to know about the significance of the hug. Was there some sort of code?
Okay, let's talk about the hug. All right. Probably a little less than 2 hours after that tragic shooting in Dallas, this is what I had posted on my Facebook site. I wasn't there, but it appears to me that somebody has violated one, if not two, of my personal rules. Rule number one, never get your honey where you get your money. Rule number two, don't date somebody who lives in your complex. Now, it turns out later on, of course, that I was actually correct, because thank God there was a black female neighbor who used her smartphone to videotape Amber outside the residence talking to her boyfriend at the police department instead of rendering aid to the guy she just shot.
Right.
Okay, she's talking to the guy from work who she's been sleeping with, right? So I guess I was correct in the sense that she was getting her honey where she gets her money. And nobody's really talking about it, but there's been lots of speculation that there was also some type of relationship that she had with that family. And I just find it interesting when they're in court, the brother's like, well, I never really wanted to see you go to prison.
Right.
Can I give her a hug?
Right.
Of course. I mean, if she had been close to that family prior to this incident, I'd be saying that too and giving her a hug. So I think there's a lot more there than what we've been told. And when you look at, her story had changed 3 times, and first she went to the location and the door was open. Then she went to the location and the door was shut but was unlocked. Then she went to the location. And here's the thing: if anybody goes back and does any research, you don't use the regular key to get to those apartment doors.
What do you use?
It's almost like a pass key that you use in the more sophisticated hotel.
Wow, one of those credit card keys.
Well, similar to it. It's like one of those. It's a special key that has almost like a circular hole to the lock on the door. And when you use it, the green light comes on to verify your key should be in that particular door lock. It's not just one of those. It's electronic, is what I'm trying to tell you.
Right.
And I'm thinking, if it's electronic, is there a way to determine when that key was last used?
Yes.
Is there any record of the fact that that door was in fact closed and that key was used shortly before the shooting? You see, nobody's talking about that. More importantly, if you look at that type of door, it doesn't remain open. It's one of those like
soft shuts.
Once you open the door, go in, and you take your pressure away from the door, it's going to automatically shut. See what I'm saying? It's not the kind of door that you're going to walk by and find the door open. It shuts on its own. So unless you have something, unless she was claiming that there was a chair in the door or something like that to keep it open, the door would not be open.
Damn.
But let's say the door was open. Let's give Amber the credit of the doubt. By the way, is it too early for me to request conjugal visits? Anyway, so well, rumor has it, homegirl was a freak, dude. So let's give Amber the benefit of the doubt, and the door was open when she got there.
Okay.
And she thought she was on the wrong floor, and she thought she was on the wrong floor at the wrong door, but she thought it was her door. So if it was your residence and you came to an open door, what should you do?
You should stop and call the cops.
And did she do that?
No, she did not.
And she's the one that's highly trained as a law enforcement officer, right?
Yes.
So what I'm just saying to you folks, there could have been more than one person in that residence. And to go inside this residence on your own to challenge somebody, I couldn't care less who you are listening to this show today, whether you're vastly trained, whether you're, as we call it in the law enforcement and all forces world, civilian world. You come to an open door, you call the local cops, you wait, tell them who you are, tell them where you are, let them go and handle it, and then they determine whether your place is safe for you to enter.
Yes. That's the real knowledge. Don't be a fool. Don't go out and shoot somebody.
Well, you're assuming you're going to shoot somebody. You could end up going inside and being shot yourself. That's my whole point, because you don't know how many people are inside.
That's true.
And that's giving her the benefit of the doubt. Personally, I just don't buy the story that she found the door open and went in. But, if that's the story they want to stick with, I'm just telling folks out there. Her judgment was extremely poor. Her tactics were extremely poor. And I just say this since we want to play the what if. What if she had been on duty, had gotten a 911 call, and had gone to the wrong floor and the wrong door?
Oh, my God.
And had shot and killed some white person.
Oh, my. Any person. Yeah.
No. Since they want to make this a race thing, I say she wouldn't shot and killed a white person. What would have happened to her?
I hate to say, probably wouldn't even have made the news cycle.
Yeah, because that department would have tried to pay off the family right away just to keep that from,
Right, from our ears. It don't fit that narrative. It don't fit, it doesn't fit the mode. Now, if it would have been a Hispanic or a black or a woman.
Having said that, right in Greenville, South Carolina, there was a white individual who was shot by a white deputy, Greenville County deputy, and that Greenville County deputy wasn't charged.
And he
didn't identify himself as a police officer. he didn't use, because, South Carolina, they got the blue lights, so he didn't have his blue lights activated on his police car when he responded to this particular person's residence. This particular person thought he had heard a prowler, went outside, and had armed himself, since, South Carolina is one of those gun nut states. After all, I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. And he got shot by the cops. Now, he's alive, and the family's disappointed, but they just finished the lawsuit on that one. They haven't finished the lawsuit on it, but they've already finished the determination of whether criminal charges be filed, and there will be no charges filed. Of course, you won't hear about that case because it's a white cop shooting a white guy. You hear about the Amber case, you hear about the Fort Worth case, because it's a white cop shooting a black person, because that's what stirs the pot.
Right.
That's what foments hatred and anger. And for the ignorant masses out there, they fall for it. But worse, we have an industry out there. I call them the white supremacy industry. And in the white supremacy industry, you have black folks who make their money doing nothing but talking about white supremacy all damn day long. First of all, I don't use the term white supremacy because white folks are not supreme to me. So by the mere fact that you even use the term white supremacy, you're already giving them status and power. But have you ever had a group of people in this country now for more than the last, for 3-4 decades, all they ever talk about is how the white folks think they're superior to us, and the white folks do nothing but want to kill us. And this fills a void in the black community. And you have black folks out there who sell their books, who have people come and pay money for their lectures,
Yep,
who pay money for their videos,
yep,
and they hear this crap over and over and over again. And then when you have incidents that happen, such as the tragic incident in Dallas or in Fort Worth, these are the incidents that are used by these individuals to help foment hatred and anger. Meanwhile, you won't hear them talk about somebody like the guy in Greenville, South Carolina, who was white and who was shot. Now, look, I live in Orange County, California. Is Orange County, California poor?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. I have Balboa Peninsula down here, Newport Beach,
Huntington Beach. That's kind of poor.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying down here, Orange County is considered one of the wealthiest counties in the United States, okay? Now, I moved into this county in 1984. You know what the population of blacks were in Orange County in 1984?
What percent?
1.8%.
Jesus.
Do you know what percentage of blacks are in Orange County right now?
The same?
1.8%. So, with Orange County, having said that, when it comes to black folks or white folks, who do you think is the more of the population?
I would say white folks, middle class white folks.
Middle class, upper middle class white folks. Okay?
Yeah.
So, having said that, who do you think the cops are usually dealing with on a daily basis?
You would think middle class white folks.
So, if we're dealing with middle class white folks in Orange County, I can tell you right now, not a week goes by, because we have a free newspaper down here called the OC Weekly. And it's sad because that newspaper is slowly but surely withering away to where it's not going to be anything. And I say sad because it's a free newspaper, but it's a newspaper that will not print the story printed in the Orange County Register or the Los Angeles Times Orange County edition. It's kind of like your radio show. You're going to cover stories that mainstream media is not going to cover.
Exactly.
And in that Orange County Register, not a week goes by where they don't talk about senseless cop shootings, senseless cop beatings, police informants in jail that lied so they can get convictions in, murder trials involving jail inmates. Well, if we already established that the majority of people living down here are white, and weekly we have senseless cop beatings, senseless cop shooting and jailhouse snitches putting people in jail based on lies and getting reduced sentences or actually money from corrupt judges and correction facilities down here. Who do you think the people are that are usually the victims of this police type behavior?
It would have to be white folks.
There you go. And anybody can go back and get the OC Weeklies for themselves, because the OC Weekly has online websites. And you will see, especially a guy, Scott Moxley. I love Scott Moxley. He's a very good investigative reporter. And that's all he talks about. Down here, they have the Trump, the Trump riot. In fact, if you're not aware of this, remember when they had the rioting up at University of Virginia and the woman was killed, run over?
Yes.
Well, the two Nazis behind that whole thing are from Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach comes up
because
again.
People think Southern California or California in general is a liberal state. California is not a liberal state.
No,
where
sir.
Where did the Manson family come from?
Oh, they come from Malibu.
And what did Manson have carved into his forehead?
A swastika.
That's what you have here. Now, when Mandela left prison and became president of South Africa, the hardcore Afrikaners who had money
came there.
Number one place they relocated to was New Zealand. The number two place they relocated to was Orange County, California. So you got some very wealthy, hardcore, racist Afrikaners who live in Newport Beach, Dana Point, Irvine, and Laguna Beach. Now here's one for you. Have you ever heard of Larry Ford?
No, I have not.
Oh, you're recording the show, because when I have a conversation with you, I always tell you better have a pencil when you talk to me. Okay, Larry Ford was a very prestigious professor at the University of California, Irvine, and he killed his partner. And shortly before the cops took him into custody, he committed suicide. And when the Irvine Police Department dug up his backyard, what did they find?
Not more bodies.
Oh, no.
What?
They found proof evidence that Larry Ford was involved in a program with the South African government to create an ethno-specific weapon to kill black folks in South Africa. So once again, folks, since I tell you don't believe a word I tell you, you do your own research.
That one's true. I know about that story from a different angle. That's crazy. That is the guy.
So here, talk about small world. So I was one day sitting in one of my favorite Chinese restaurants, and I was talking about this story. And do you know, well, I have to be careful how I say this because I don't want to get the person in trouble. In that restaurant was an individual who just happened to work for Irvine Police Department. So when these white folks in the room were looking at me like, oh, here's another Negro with a conspiracy theory, this Irvine Police Department person said, guess what? He's telling the truth. And for you folks out there, if you really want to do some research on it, back on November 3rd, 2002, 60 Minutes, which is the only news outlet that I know of, actually did a story on it. So if you go back and research 60 Minutes, November 3rd, 2002, Dr. Larry Ford, I got to read a little piece of it here for you. Because, since you and I have been going, they forced me to get rid of my dial-up, so now I can actually talk to you while I peruse my files now.
Yes.
So this is what it says here. Dr. Larry Ford was, by most accounts, a mild-mannered gynecologist in Irvine, California, a respected physician and an interest in AIDS research. But after he hired a hitman to try to kill his business partner and then committed suicide once police were closing in on him, Dr. Ford's double life was revealed. Irvine police confirmed that they found evidence that Dr. Ford was working with the apartheid government in South Africa in the 1980s, helping them develop chemical and biological weapons to fight opponents of the white rule government.
Wow.
So on 60 Minutes, they traveled to South Africa where they conducted the first ever televised interview. In fact, Mike Wallace is the one who did it. Mike Wallace went to South Africa, conducted the first ever televised interview with the man who ran the apartheid-era program. His name was Dr. Buta Basson, W-O-U-T-E-R-B-A-S-S-O-N,
Sounds
whom
German.
the South African press has dubbed Dr. Death. And according to U.S. intelligence sources who spoke with 60 Minutes and shared classified reports under anonymity, they told Mike Wallace there are concerns that Dr. Basson and some of his former colleagues have attempted to make contact with Iran and Iraq.
To give them that bioweapon technology.
And this was back in 2002. So what I'm just saying, and this is down here in, Orange County, UC Irvine. Let me tell you like UC Irvine. UC Irvine is the school where about 5 years ago, to celebrate Black History Month, they served watermelon and fried chicken in the cafeteria.
Stop it. That's intolerable. That is intolerable.
And I'm not talking 100 years ago. Laguna Beach, where I also told you that the Afrikaners are relocated to, they had a surf shop down there. And for Martin Luther King's birthday, they had a black sail. They photoshopped a photograph of Martin Luther King's head onto a white surfer in a wetsuit, and everything in the store that was black was on sale that day.
It was just a joke, y'all. Just funny.
Joke. What I'm trying to tell you, dude, that's Orange County, California. Because see, down here, we don't have the John Birch Society, because you've already established we're the middle class, upper middle class.
Right.
Down here, they call themselves the Welch Foundation. Because Welch was one of the founding members of the John Birch Society. Okay.
The scariest thing about that.
So when people like Hillary Clinton want you to believe, by the way, Hillary was a John Birch Society member. In fact, she used to be a Barry Goldwater girl.
Right.
So when you have people like Hillary Clinton want you to believe that it's the deplorables that got Trump elected, no. I take you down here to Balboa Peninsula where nobody listening to this show will be able to afford a home. And you will see the Tea Party Libertarian stickers on all their trucks that tow their damn $500,000 plus yachts and boats down to the water. Okay, that's where Trump's getting his support from.
Yep.
The people down here who, when I went to the Balboa Yacht Club, because, when I was in college, I was on my surfing club and sailing club. So I don't think my college has ever had another black on their sailing team. So anyway, I'm just telling you, me. So when my alumni association said, hey, we're having an alumni fundraiser at the Balboa Yacht Club, would you like to go? I go, hell yeah. They don't even have no niggas working there, much less any niggas best member. Damn right, I'm going to this mother. And I was down there in the harbor, and I was on the boat, these boats, and I said, this is the first time I've been in this harbor, in the Balboa Bay, that wasn't on a stolen boat. And everybody in the boat looked at me, and then the guy who's piloting the boat goes, how you know this boat ain't stolen? So, anyway, and while seriously, because I know I'm digressing here a little bit, but so I have on this boat all these folks from my college who live out here, went to school in Charleston. And of course, you know what they all live in Balboa in that area, so you know what they all are involved with as far as the business world.
What?
Wall Street. They're all, they all want to be that Wall Street guru that, making six-figure salary by the time he's been there for 2 years. So I'm on the boat. And have you ever seen the movie Back to College? With Rodney Dangerfield?
Wait. No, I'm thinking of when he was in National Lampoon and the golf course. No, wrong movie.
Oh, you talking about Caddyshack?
Yeah, but that was Caddyshack too. No, I know that the movie sounds familiar.
Back to school with the Rodney Dangerfield. Okay, Rodney Dangerfield was this white guy who, you know, he was a businessman, middle class, and he sent his son off to college, and his son doesn't want to go to college. And he goes, "Hey, Dad, you never finished college, so why you never went to college?" So Rodney Dangerfield decided he's going to go to college with his son. So they get this, you know, the guy who's been to in fact, the guy even went to the same school that Donald Trump went to, the business school. He's the professor and the snobby guy in the school. And Rodney Dangerfield, during the lecture, like, excuse me, you know, I've been in business for a little while, and that's not really how things work. First, you got to grease the politicians to get them to rezone the area. And then Rodney Dangerfield breaks it down how you got to pay off the mob and everybody else. And all the white boys in the classroom, they turn their backs on the professor because guess who they're writing the notes from?
The dude that did it.
Well, that was the same thing that happened to me when I was down there at that Balboa Yacht Club. When I was on that boat, all these little white boys who recently graduated from college and now on Wall Street or in the business world, J.P. Morgan and all that, they were on that boat taking copious notes as I was speaking because I told them, I just tell you straight out, we're headed for a civil war and we're headed for a world war. So if you want to know where to invest money, you invest money in the arms industry because people are going to be buying guns like they're going out of sale, and they're worried about gun control laws.
Right.
And each time there's a gun control law, you'll see a massive sell-off of guns, especially the gun that was used in the mass shooting. And then we are going to escalate around the world. We've already got U.S. troops stationed in 186 countries.
Correct.
And they're running out of wars, so we have to create and foment wars to keep the arms industry in business. And these guys are writing the stuff down and I felt like Rodney Dangerfield in that movie Back to School. I was like, damn. Oh, and then as we were on the boat, a fleet of J.P. Morgan sailboats went by, so I took a photograph of it because, you know.
J.P. Morgan.
Well, about a month ago, there was a ship that's owned by J.P. Morgan. So for you folks out there, you research this one. J.P. Morgan ship full of cocaine.
That's about as bad as that ABC anchor talking about she just sold a little coke when she was in college. I mean, it just seems like illicit drug trade and all these wealthy people just kind of go hand in hand.
Well, yeah, I used to surf, and I used to use a surfboard that I could never afford because that surfboard was owned by one of the biggest drug dealers on campus. So he used to let me use it before he was a spoiled brat. He had the brand new Trans Am and the brand new Camaro. The only people on campus who could rival him were these white girls that were dating Iranians. Iranians used to go to the Citadel. And what happened is these boys, you know, underclassmen couldn't keep cars on campus. And all these white girls, people talk this Muslim crap, okay? These white girls had no problem hooking up with these Muslims from Iran who are actually Persian, but, you know, white folks are so stupid, they don't know the difference between Persian and Muslim. So, anyway, these white girls are all hooked up with these Persians from Iran, and these girls are driving all these brand new Trans Ams, Corvettes, and Fibers, and Camaros. And then when Jimmy Carter did the sanctions against Iran, and the Iranians had to leave the country, guess who got to keep all those cars?
Those girls.
Oh, yeah. So,
wow.
You know, the only people on campus who could rival these girls for their fancy cars was this one white boy whose surfboard I used to use all the time because he was a major drug dealer. South Carolina was major for they used to call themselves the big boys back in those days, the gentlemen smugglers. There's one for you guys out there listening to the show today. When you got some time, you research the gentlemen smugglers because, you know, that movie, American Made, which is the reason why they had to take Harvey Weinstein down. American Made was a movie about my all-time favorite treetop flyer, Barry Shields. And Barry Shields was heavily connected to CIA and the major drug cartels, and he used to fly in low in Florida. I was disappointed because they don't show him in South Carolina, but they used to fly in low into Florida, Georgia, Louisiana, South Carolina, where he'd fly just above the treetops and dump the drugs out into like a lake, a river, or the ocean, and then people would go out in the boats and grab the drugs and bring it back to shore.
Right. Make tons of money. And he was affiliated with the Clintons as well, wasn't he? Hello? That's the room.
Wow, it's nice weather today.
Exactly. Let's get back to Fort Worth.
So, in the movie American Made, there's a scene where Barry Seal, he gets busted by ATF, DEA, FBI, and he's outside the courthouse, and he says, he's outside the courtroom. He's inside the courthouse down in Arkansas. He's like, my favorite car is a Cadillac. You know why? No, why, Barry? Tell us why. Because it's got the largest trunk. Now, I'll give each one of you boys a Cadillac if y'all let me go. Barry, we already got you on all kinds of drug charges, money laundering charges, and now you want us to get you for trying to bribe a federal agent? Okay. And then moments later, you see the prosecuting attorney walk out her office pissed off because she just got off the phone with Bill Clinton.
Oh, shit.
And she tells him, let him go. Huh? Let him go. And Barry goes, you should have taken the Cadillac.
Should have taken the Cadillac.
Because now the deal's out. See, if they had let him go before she had come out and said let him go, he was going to give every one of those cops their Cadillac. But now he doesn't even have to bribe them because apparently the get out of jail free card was working.
Exactly.
So you ask these questions like try to put me on the spot. One of my mentors, his son worked in a law firm, Bill and Hillary, and they never saw Bill or Hillary in the Rose Law Firm. So when they talk about Joe Biden's son now, it reminds me of that because Joe Biden's his son's always sitting on the head of these boards, and they're like, we've never seen him at a meeting.
But he's still getting a check. That's what counts. He's still getting a check.
Yeah, Arkansas was an interesting area. Some of the spooks I used to, same circles, they trained a lot of guys from Nicaragua. Used to train the Sandinistas down there in Arkansas. I highly recommend that movie for you folks out there. People were murdered during the filming of that movie, and if you look at Tom Cruise, when you see him flying, he is flying because he didn't trust anybody else's pilot to be flying the airplane.
It was that shady.
So that movie, I'm telling you, that's why Weinstein was taken down. Because in that movie, it shows you everything. It shows you the Bush family. It shows you Ollie North. It shows you Clinton. It shows you the drug cartels. It shows you the cocaine cowboy wars. It shows you everything. And I watched that movie. I probably watched that movie 3 to 5 times a year since it's been up. But that's the real reason Weinstein got taken down. Just like Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey got taken down because of season 5 of House of Cards. It shows you everything about Bohemian Grove and who really runs this country.
Yes, it did. That was a crazy, crazy, crazy show.
In fact, most of what you see going on in the Trump administration, you could see on House of Cards before Trump even ran for president. Even the scene where Trump's in the White House and the Native Americans refuse to take a photograph in the TV show, but they sell out.
And they do it.
These sell out Native Americans. They actually took a photograph for Trump with Andrew Jackson in the background on the wall.
Yes.
Whereas on the TV show, the Native Americans actually had Andrew Jackson taken off the wall.
Wow.
But see, on the TV show, it also shows you the rich white folks who give money to both the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and Native Americans. House of Cards if you want to know what's going on, House of Cards told you about Cambridge Analytica 2 years before that even became news. They showed you that on House of Cards 2 years before that.
Speaking of presidents, I have a question from Alpha the First. Ask Mark, if Trump will be impeached or will be reelected.
Yes. He'll either be impeached or he'll be yes. Okay, this is okay. Trump is exactly the person they want. You know, his cousin is Hillary.
Correct.
It was Bubba and Hillary who told Trump to run for president. Now, Hillary was the worst Democratic candidate they could even put up there. And yet she still got more popular vote than Trump did, so they had to go in and pull the electoral college thing so Trump could win. Same thing happened in 2000. Al Gore was the worst Democrat they could put up there by putting a guy who's Jewish as his running mate, and Al Gore still won, so they had to go in and change it so that Bush could win. Okay, hey, I'm just telling you. Okay, you know, I call a spade a spade. So anyway, and by the way, did somebody demand a recount after Hillary Clinton lost?
You know what? No.
Yeah, they did. It wasn't Hillary, it was Jill Stein. Hillary didn't even endorse a recount to vote for herself. So that's just, come on, folks. This whole system is just a game, you know, to make you feel good. You know what Carol Quigley said back in the early 60s? Every, 4 to 8 years, you can vote the rascals out without any significant change in policy. Hey, and Carol Quigley in fact, Carol Quigley was Bill Clinton's mentor at Georgetown University.
And he was also a member of the Knights of Malta, I believe, as well.
Well, he has an interesting book called The Anglo-American Establishment. So if you folks want to know, because if you remember, there was a certain attorney general who specifically mentioned the Anglo-American heritage when it comes to enforcing law enforcement. Judge Sessions brought up that Anglo-American heritage. But if you don't know, you don't know. See, I'm from Charleston. Charleston literally lies on the map, 33 in the third degrees, in both directions. Nothing happens by accident. That's why the Scottish Rite Freemasons is headquartered in Charleston. So while you folks talk smack about who's running this country, you don't have a clue who's running this country.
But that's by design, though, is it not?
And if somebody had asked the question that I told him to ask Jordan Maxwell the other day, he might have gotten that answer. But then somebody dropped the ball. Not that I had anything to do with any of those questions on that show. And he would have got those answers. But no. So when you look at the Civil War, as they call it, or some of us call it the War of Northern Aggression, or the war between the states, you got to always have that blue Masonic versus that red Masonic.
I got a question from the chat room from
I'm not asking. No, I didn't say I was taking any questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, not yet.
So, even when you go back and look at Tombstone, you'll see them around the campfire with their little Masonic symbols on their neck, and then the next thing you see them going to Charlton Heston's ranch for refuge. At that time, Charlton Heston was the highest ranking Mason in Hollywood.
Wow.
And Wyatt Earp was a virulent anti-slavery. His family supported the North. Those cowboys in Tombstone were the remnants of not so much the Confederate States of the Army, but they were like when you think of the Jesse James type guys, they were part of those militias that supported the South during the war, and they supported slavery, and that's why they despised Wyatt Earp. Because Wyatt Earp and his family were part of that blue Masonic lodge, whereas these boys who were the cowboys who didn't recognize no local law enforcement, they made up their own law.
Correct.
Kind of like the Tea Party libertarians who don't recognize the U.S. federal government. They want their own laws. Those guys went down to Texas, and they were the rebels.
Wow.
The Marauders. And a lot of those guys, when the war ended, became war criminals, so a lot of them fled into Mexico.
They became outlaws.
Oh, yeah. Well, Jesse James and the boys, they were outlaws, but, the local people never turned them in, so they had their own underground railroad. So, going back to this thing, though, with Fort Worth, why were the cops there in the first place?
It was a safety check, brother. We were concerned about the neighbor, and we called. That's why they were allegedly there. A safety check.
Isn't that what you were told? That
Yeah.
a neighbor called because they said that this woman's door was open, and that was unusual at 2:30 in the morning. That her door was open, so they were doing a welfare check, right?
Right.
Wrong. They were going there on a possible burglary. Suspect there now call.
What?
But you have to be fomented with hatred and anger. So people have to run out there
and act a fool.
And you have to be told this information so you can run with it like you know what's going on. Now, I told you in Greenville County, South Carolina, that this white male had armed himself because he thought he heard a prowler.
Right.
They did find a gun in this woman's residence, right?
Right.
So is it possible that this woman heard a noise in her backyard? And since that is Texas, what's the big shock about somebody having a gun in their residence? That she armed herself with her gun, went to the window to look outside, and this cop saw her with a gun and shot her? I'm asking you, is that possible?
That could be possible. I could see that potentially happening.
And if that was what happened, will he be found guilty now that he's on trial for murder? Well, now that he's been arrested for murder.
Oh, he's probably going to be found guilty.
I'm sorry?
He probably is going to be found guilty of murder, unless what you just said.
He will be found guilty of murder.
Unless it's like you said, if he saw the woman with a gun and whatever.
What have you been smoking? what cop have you? What white cop have you ever seen found guilty of murder when they shot a black person?
But this is what I'm saying.
No. I'm asking you right now. What white cop have you ever seen found guilty of murder after killing a black person?
I can't say one right offhand.
But you think this guy's gonna be found guilty?
I feel it. I feel he will be found guilty.
Why?
Because the paradigm shift is changing.
No, he'll be found not guilty so that the Negroes can go take it to the streets because colored folks are very emotional.
Oh.
Dude, Ray Charles could have seen that coming. What's wrong with you, man?
I don't want to believe that we're going to be played that stupid.
I don't sit here playing what I don't want to believe. I deal with reality. I'm the guy who told people a year before it happened that the 4 cops who had been involved with beating Rodney King and the 5th, who was the sergeant, those 5 cops would be found not guilty, and you would see the largest riots in U.S. history. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And then on April 29th, 1992, when the largest riots in U.S. history started, a lot of these cops act like they never had that conversation with me. But see, the great thing was I was teaching at LAPD's academy. So I had hundreds of LAPD recruits that had been going through that were in my classes. So I have hundreds of LAPD cops, some retired now, some still cops, who can tell you, nope, he told us before it happened that we were going to see the largest riots in U.S. history. Because that's what I do.
Wow.
So when I came on Carl Nelson's show and told them that in the Eric Gardner case, those cops would not be found guilty, that, colored folks get all pissed off because they're emotional. Oh, you don't know what he's talking about. I'm sorry, did those cops go to prison for Eric Gardner?
No.
And so when the brother was killed by Baltimore Police Department, they even had a retired Baltimore cop come on. I go, brother, listen. Yeah, they should seatbelt him in the back of the van. I agree with you. But that's a department policy. That's not a law. You can't find somebody guilty in court for violating a department policy. If there's no law in the books for that, you can't prosecute. And everybody gets all pissed off at me. So when all the cops are found, not guilty, they're mad at me. Don't be mad at me. I deal with reality. That's why I'm on your show today.
Right.
I'm not here to talk about Trump. I'm here for people to call in who want to know the deal when it comes to you and contact with police department.
Right.
So if you're not going to call in to ask me about law enforcement, don't waste your time because I'm not going to answer you. And the reason I came on this show, because Patrick will tell you, I haven't done a show with you since that House Negro Judge Brown.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry, the House Negro Judge Brown who supports Donald Trump. Oh, you are aware of that, right? I'm sorry, I didn't hear. I asked a yes or no question, Your Honor. The witness is being evasive. You are aware of that, right?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay, so I already knew he was a fraud when I came on your show because, first of all, for the first 30 minutes, the two of you act like I wasn't even on the show because all I heard was Judge Joe Brown. And all I said was, well, I don't know. You didn't even give an introduction. I don't need to give an introduction. Everybody knows who I am. What an arrogant nigga he is. First of all, a lot of people don't even know who I am. I know I'm younger than he is. They don't know who the hell he is. I never assume that people know who I am. I always give an introduction, or like you did today, read a brief introduction about who I am for people who've never heard me before.
Correct.
So he's audacious, he's arrogant, and then he's a fucking liar. Because, see, I'm like a lawyer. Remember, I was trained by white folks. So you folks listening to me right now, if you go to court and you're asked a yes or no question, how do you answer the question?
Yes or no.
Because lawyers already know the answers. Lawyers don't like surprises in court. I am the same way. When I come on a show and House Negro Joe Brown comes on, I already know the answer. So when I asked him the question and he outright lied to all your listeners, that's when I was already done with him. I'm just telling you. And so now you have the new House Negro that people seem not to be aware of. Are you hearing that NBC is going to help create a black news network?
Wow. When?
And you're in Missouri, so out there near your neck of the woods, guess who's going to be the black front man for this news network?
Who?
J.C. Watts.
Oh, really?
Have you ever heard that name?
Yes, I've heard of J.C. Watts.
Now, isn't J.C. Watts the House Negro? He used to have his nose so buried so far up the Republicans' anuses. And the only reason he even got elected to office is because he was a football star. Yeah. So all these black folks now are sending stuff to be shared on my Facebook site. Ooh, Black Network, and I'm like, do you all even know who J.C. Watts is? And guess who's one of the first people he plans on having on his network with their own TV show?
Who?
Larry Elder. Need I say more? Oh, and you know who his drinking buddy is? You know who J.C. Watts' drinking buddy is?
Who?
Paul Grant.
Oh my God! Hold on, caller. Turn down the show. We got a caller.
This is what happens because we as black folks, we just think because somebody looks as we do that person's out for the best interest of who you are.
Right.
So the reason I came on your show is because since this Fort Worth thing, I've had so many black folks on my various Facebook sites just talking crazy nonsense. And when I try to share with them rational, sane responses, I'm being called a racist. I'm being called all these profane names. I'm being blocked or unfriended on Facebook. Like, oh my God, how will I survive? And these folks, and I'm like, when the hell did they ever serve as a police officer?
Exactly.
They have no personal knowledge. They have no personal experience. And when somebody out there who has literally rewritten the book for the state of California and the U.S. Department of Defense for military police on police tactics, who is followed by thousands of cops around the world to read what I have to say, and then I'm trying to give you all knowledge, and I'm not charging you to come hear my lecture. I'm not charging you to buy my book.
Right.
I'm not charging you to watch my video. I'm giving you this stuff for free. And you're too stupid and ignorant to understand that I'm not the enemy because you've already bought into the bullshit?
Wow.
Let me just give you one other example real quick here of what I'm talking about. So now you got the group called the Young Turks.
Yeah.
Ever heard of them?
Yes, the YT or TYT.
So I've got these colored folks now sharing videos from the Young Turks that clearly show how white people are treated differently than black people by the cops. And this is what I say. No. That shooting in Fort Worth, that guy was an idiot. Cops are a reflection of society. The United States, the average newspaper is written on a third grade reading level. Why? Because the majority of the United States are idiots. The average United States citizen could not even answer questions on a TV show called Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Remember it.
Okay? And when people try to educate you, they come up with words like, you don't need to know that, that's trivial. And you go out and buy a game called Trivial Pursuit because that makes you believe you don't need to be educated because it's trivial. This is a systematic way of dumbing down the population.
Yes.
People are no longer taught critical analysis. They don't know how to read a paragraph and go back later and analyze that paragraph because you're not taught comprehensive reading. And when it comes to government, you are not taught civic classes. You're not taught constitutional classes. You're not taught U.S. government classes anymore. And if you want to get your social studies credits in high school, you can take sociology, psychology, homemaking, auto shop, or anything else than to learn about how this government actually works.
Correct.
And then when the government becomes a part of your life, all of a sudden something you haven't taken the time to do any research on, you become the fucking expert because social media allows you to go out there and talk any bullshit you want like you know what the hell you're talking about. And when somebody comes out who does know what's going on, who's trying to educate you, you're incapable of even listening and hearing what they have to say.
Wow. There it is. There it is. You basically eloquently said we're too stupid to realize we're stupid.
Right. And for all you folks out there who are listening right now, because I told him before I came on, I said, I want to piss off a lot of colored folks today. If you want a clear example of what I'm talking about, there is a gentleman, and I use that term loosely. His name is Brian Gene, Gene, Nichols. You look that name up. Brian Gene Nichols. Now, I called him the devil went down to Georgia. I wrote about him back in 2005. But with all the crap that was going on, and I quit doing radio shows back in 2001. I refused to do radio shows after they passed the Patriot Act. But when I saw the murder of Trayvon Martin, I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I got to come back because people don't realize they're being manipulated to set up this fucking civil war in this country. So I came back. So in 2015, I went and posted on all my Facebook sites something I had written back in 2005. Now, I didn't call it the devil because it was a brother. I call it the devil because of the circumstances involving the case. So basically, Brian Gene Nichols was this guy who killed several cops, including a federal agent, including a judge, carjacked like 4 or 5 different cars, and had a woman hostage, but he let her go to go pick up her child from daycare, but instead of going to daycare, she called the local cops. And the cops surrounded the house, and what happened to him?
He was taken into custody.
After killing all these white boys, including a white judge, the brother was taken into custody. And most people will never know that name because that doesn't fill the profile of what you want to know. The white supremacy industry can't use that as an example of they treat black folks differently than they treat white folks.
Correct.
By the way, after I posted that story again this week, I had black folks telling me, that's an anomaly. Okay. I had a white guy tell me, oh no, what he's saying is true. How do I know? I was in the barbershop, and these white cops were in the barbershop going out to kill this brother after he killed all these people, and they were told to stand down.
They were told to stand down.
Because that we don't just kill people. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So why am I saying this? Because that happened in 2005 in Atlanta. So what happened in Dallas, since we like to talk Texas, what happened in Dallas who, by the way, was in the U.S. Army, got a dishonorable discharge, and nobody's talking about how his discharge was upgraded so he can get the weapons he used. This brother kills these cops in Dallas, including one who was a former L.A. Viking from the L.A. Sheriff's Department, a white racist group within the Sheriff's Department, but he works for Dallas. All these cops that were killed in Dallas recently, how did they take that brother into custody?
I thought he died.
Because the House Negro Chief of Police allowed his department to be the first one where they took a robot that's supposed to be used to dismantle bombs. They equipped this robot with a bomb and went in and blew him up instead of negotiating and having him talk out the way they did the brother down in Georgia.
Wow.
So they always use colored folks for the test case. Christopher Dorner was used as the test case, where now drones can be used domestically against U.S. citizens. And this black guy down in Dallas was used as the test case, where we can now blow up an individual instead of trying to take that person into custody. But where was the outrage from the black community? Oh, that's right. It was the House Negro who was the chief of police. So, that is... Oh, and then he quietly resigned shortly thereafter. And to this day, nobody talks about how did this brother... Oh, and then they tried to say he was a member of Black Lives Matter.
Yes.
He was not a member of Black Lives Matter. In fact, he called them punks because he said they talked a lot of shit, but they didn't do anything.
So he was more radical. Far more radical, obviously.
Well, you show me a radical group, and I usually show you a group that has some...
informants.
There you go. In fact, usually the leaders are the ones who are stirring up the pot the most are usually the ones that have a direct connection to some police agency. Hey, here in California, out in the valley, you get some hardcore racists there in L.A. County. So out in the valley, there was this Ku Klux Klan group that had started up. Now, this happened back in the 90s. And there were like 13 people in this group. And so this one guy that was working undercover, he was able to infiltrate the group. And
he did a Hitler move.
While he was trying to find out stuff on these guys, there were 5 people in the group he couldn't get anything on. You want to know why?
Why?
They were all fucking cops. So out of the 13 people in this clan clavering that just started up, 6 of them were cops.
Oh my God.
No, serious. That's just a true story. I can tell you lots of stories like that. And when you go back and look at the World Trade Center, for example, the first bombing at the World Trade Center didn't happen in 2001.
No, it happened in 93 or 92, I believe.
And the person who was behind that, I'm getting a lot of bad feedback.
Yeah, that's the caller. I just turned it down just a little bit.
The person who did that was told that his bomb was not going to be real.
Wow, the patsy move. They're always getting a sucker.
Of course. So before we take calls, for you folks who really want to see how you're being manipulated, I highly recommend a movie. You remember the name Susan Sarandon?
No.
Come on, you do. Susan Sarandon, she's this knucklehead, far left-wing Hillary cultist. But Susan Sarandon was in the movie Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, God.
And she has been in lots of movies, but she used to be married to Tim Robbins. Well, Tim Robbins starred in a movie, low-budget movie. It's called Arlington Road. Because I had somebody ask me recently, why did Obama let these white racist bastards get away with basically punking him out when they took over this federal land? And I said Obama was very wise in doing that because they wanted Obama to basically create Clive and Bundy into the Randy Weaver of the Obama administration.
Right.
Well, if you look at Arlington Road, you will see them changing the names and everything else, but they basically show you what really happened with the Oklahoma City bombing, with the Randy Weaver and other white militia groups back during the 90s going up against the federal government.
Man, that's
In fact, the day of the Murrah building blowing up in Oklahoma was the day that Snell was executed down in Arkansas. In fact, and before he was executed, he was watching it on TV, and he had already told all his prison inmates, "Hey, you wait till tomorrow. You'll see what's going to happen here tomorrow."
wow.
Hey, I'm just telling you.
Wow.
But I'm sorry, you said you had a call with a question.
Yes. Hold on, caller, you still there? Can you hear me, caller? Oh, he must be some sort of lag. Caller, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you there, caller? You got a question for Mark? Must be some sort of problem there. I don't.
Is there anybody out there?
Yeah.
Let's go back to Jordan Maxwell, though. You had Jordan Maxwell on.
Yes.
See, Jordan Maxwell stated to you what I've been trying to tell folks, okay? I love Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory was my front man, okay? Dick Gregory would go out and tell people things, but people didn't know he was getting a lot of his information from me. That way I didn't get in trouble when I was working in LAPD and various other alphabet agencies. But Dick Gregory's gone now, okay? I never promised to replace Dick Gregory by going out there and being a new Dick Gregory.
Right.
I coach my little white girls in surfing and stay in my lane. Now, I say that because if you listen to what Jordan Maxwell said, he's telling you the same thing. We've spent most of our lives trying to tell you folks what the fuck was coming down. Now that all of a sudden you're starting to taste it, all of a sudden you want to run to us and act like we're supposed to drop everything we're doing to come back and tell you what's happening. You didn't listen to us for the last 30 fucking years, and Jordan Maxwell's case was 60 years. You didn't listen to him for 60 years, and now that the shit's hit the fan, all of a sudden, where's Jordan Maxwell? And he's tired. I am tired.
Yeah. There it
You
is.
had no idea I was going to come on this show today until less than 24 hours ago. And who knows when again I'll come on, because guess what, folks? I have spent most of my life trying to tell you what was coming down. Now that Trump and everybody's here fucking you up the ass, guess what? I don't care anymore. I'm going to spend my last days enjoying my life. You don't put no food on my table, and you don't give a rat's ass about me if tomorrow morning my truck blows up other than to say, yeah, we used to hear the brother. And I said, see, I'm not going out like guys like Sears Miles, who was trying to tell you what was going on, and he got so consumed with this that they found him dead in his apartment because he wasn't taking care of himself.
Right. Right.
Tomorrow's not promised to any of us, and I'm going to enjoy my last days the way I choose. And I don't give a fuck anybody who looks at my photographs and think they know what's going on, because I've been celibate for more than a decade. I don't sleep with these little white girls. That's why their parents love me. In fact, these white girls all think I'm gay because they're like, damn, what's wrong with this brother? My mom is hot and he ain't even look at her. Because I know that's how they set you up.
Exactly.
More importantly, I don't even want to be in a situation where I can be around children today because you have no authority over your child.
You basically.
And I'm not living in a world where I can't tell my child, guess what? You ain't getting that vaccination. I'm not living in a world where I can't tell my child, I'll slap the taste out of your fucking mouth if you talk to me that way again. I'm not living that already. I've already had my children. In this society today, you have no authority over your child. I don't want to be in that. So you look at my photographs, you don't know shit about me. You don't know anything about who I am or what I do or what sacrifices I've made behind the scenes. Now, I spent my last 7 years with the LAPD down in Watts. And there wasn't one black person in that damn Watts area who could say one of my white cops ever disrespected them, ever beat them, or shot them when it wasn't warranted. In fact, while people talk a lot of shit about cops, they're not putting any cops out there from their neighborhood. I went down to the hood, and I can never even begin to tell you how many white boys' careers I see, since I know there's a lot of white cops listening to the show today.
Oh, we got a call.
I will be down in the hood to go take a complaint, and the black person goes, yeah, he stopped me on a traffic stop, and he called me nigga. I said, okay, let me get this right. White white boy working for LAPD, and this is how I said, white boy working for LAPD, and I'm his supervisor, and this white boy called you nigga. And then they look at me right now and go, no, Sarge, I was just pissed off because I got a ticket. Well, that complaint ended right there. Now, let me tell you the difference. If I had been a white sergeant, I wouldn't be talking to that brother that way. Right. And that complaint would end up getting taken because he wouldn't have been able to talk to the brother the way I did. See, this is what happens when we don't put our people in these organizations to change things.
Yes.
No, what we do is put in class bros in there who want to be like, what NWA say. And don't let it be a black or a white one. They'll slam you down to the street top. Black police showing off for the white cop.
Right.
Because we get too many black folks who get into these departments. And they want to be so accepted by the few races that might be in that organization. They go along to get along. I know what it's like not to get back up. I know what it's like to have no less than 3 attempts on my life while I was with LAPD, and those were all set up by LAPD cops.
Damn.
I'm not going to compromise my integrity to be part of the good old boys. I ain't fucking their wives, because that's what they do. They all fuck each other's wives and go out drinking after work. I don't hang out with cops off duty. I don't hang out with Marines off duty either. See, I have a life beyond that. These motherfuckers, they make that their whole lives, and then from day one when you're in the academy, they start telling you that anybody who's not a cop is a civilian swine. See, that's how they already separate you from the population.
Right.
By the way, they do the same thing in armed forces. Because, see, now you're an elitist. You took the oath, you're a Marine, or Army, or Air Force, Navy, whatever it is.
Space
and
Force.
You're better than everybody else. So you don't look at yourself the same anymore as that civilian swine. See, that way it's easier later on if they have to use you against the population. They can do it. They can do it. And I challenge anybody, because there's a lot of armed forces motherfuckers listening to the show.
You know it.
Have them call in and say they weren't told that everybody else was a civilian swine.
Civilian swine.
You're special. You're elite. Have a cop call in and tell you that they weren't told. In fact, on the police departments, they even treat the other people who are not cops as shit. When I decided to leave LAPD, you know how I got to leave so quickly?
How?
Because I never treated anybody with disrespect. And I treated the so-called civilian employees from LAPD with the same respect I treated the sworn employees. Well, guess who handles all the paperwork on LAPD?
What happened? Hey,
the civilians.
Oh, we got a caller. Caller.
But I'm not taking a call. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you, see, dude, you ain't listening. See, this is the problem we got. I'm trying to tell you what's going on. So when you got people within the police departments who are not sworn, and they're treated like shit by everybody who is sworn, it ain't no surprise you got problems in the streets, because you got cops who've been programmed to believe that if you're not a sworn person, you're less than subpar citizen.
You're not even human.
So when I was leaving LAPD, it's the civilians who do all the paperwork. And they've been following my career. They used to listen to me on radio shows. They knew the LAPD was fucking with me. I was gone in less than 30 days when it normally takes you 45 days or more to process them.
Why was that?
So when I told this captain, I said, hey, I'm going back to surfing. And then 2 weeks later, I came back with my retired badge and my retired ID. He's like, how the fuck you do that?
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to tell you, folks. If you want to know what's really going on, you need to listen to folks who are actually people who've been inside, who are trying to tell you what's going on. Instead of just repeating crap like the Young Turks that's putting out these propaganda videos on Facebook telling you, see, blacks are treated differently than whites by the cops. Because you need to find out who the Young Turks are and who's putting up the money for them.
Exactly.
Follow the money, and then you'll find out why they're allowed to say what they're saying to you. Or let's take AOC. You've heard those initials before, right?
Yes, AOC.
And who's AOC?
AOC.
Come on. Everybody talked about the bullshit blue wave in 2000.
No, oh my God, it's right here on the tip of my tongue. They're like for freedom of speech.
Right on the tip of my tongue.
For
Come on, Cortez. Come on. Gotta help you here. Damn. Smarter than a fifth grader. So anyway, you have AOC, the hot Puerto Rican from New York. Showing what color choni she's wearing today. So anyway, here's the thing. Cortez just comes out of nowhere. You folks never heard of her before. She went from bartender to Congress, and you're like, okay, that's normal. And not only did she go from bartender to Congress, she went from bartender to Congress beating a guy who's been elected 10 times prior.
Man.
And you don't ask how or who or why. Meanwhile, her chief of staff, who recently resigned and now facing possible federal charges for campaign irregularities, why is he wearing and selling attire on the internet of a guy from India who was in bed with Hitler and the SS during World War II? See, if you don't go back and check those kind of connections and see who these people are, you will always be played. What I'm telling you today, folks, you are being played. It's tragic that that woman was shot and killed in Fort Worth. But I can give you 10 similar examples of a white person killed by a white cop, and you will never hear about it because it's not going to be used to play you.
Right.
And some of you have consumed yourselves with so much hatred for the white man. I just tell you, I know there's a movie coming out soon about Harriet Tubman called, about the Underground Railroad. Harriet Tubman wouldn't have been successful had it not been for white people. The civil rights movement would not have been successful had it not been for white people. I'm only sad that guys like Charlton Heston went from being on the front line sacrificing his Hollywood career with black folks like Harry Belafonte and Dick Gregory and others to becoming this tool for the NRA later on. Yes. That's what his legacy is going to be. You had, by the way, you know who else was out there? Marlon Brando. Right. Marlon Brando was right there on the front lines in the civil rights movement in the March in Washington back in 1965. What I'm saying to you is, as long as you keep talking this bullshit, black this, black this, black this, black this, guess what? You're not going to have the people who are decent white folks supporting you, and your attempts at whatever you are attempting will never survive because you have alienated the very few people out there who would be in a position to let you know what's going on and to help you in your cause.
Wow.
Because it ain't about black or white. It's about the wealthy and everybody else. And as long as they can keep fomenting hatred and anger so that blacks hate the whites, who hate the browns, who hate the natives, guess what? They're all sitting on their hillside in their private communities with their private police laughing at your ass while you're all setting fire to the little what you own down below on the hillside. Oh, and they have their insurance companies with their privatized fire departments because if you don't have insurance, they don't even put your fire out.
That's true. That is so true. That is crazy. Like you said before, there's no America, there's only dollars. There's no Russia, there's only rubles.
Yeah. And that was said back in the 80s in the movie Network. I'm mad as hell, I can't take it anymore. That's what they want you now to be. Mad as hell to the point where you can't take it anymore, and you will take it to the streets. But let me tell you something that's different today from 1992. In 1992, we still had basically the Posse Comitatus. Basically, you could not use U.S. armed forces against the U.S. population.
Yes.
That all changed after 9/11. This time around, thanks to the expansion of George W. Bush, thanks to the expansion of Barack Hussein Obama, and now with Donald Trump, they can now turn U.S. armed forces against the U.S. populace.
But how many soldiers will really go up against mom and dad, though?
Please. let me make this simple for you. You ever heard of a guy named Chris Kyle?
Chris Kyle? No.
Come on, dude, stop today. What is wrong with you? Chris Kyle is the guy who's the greatest U.S. Navy SEAL sniper of all time.
Oh, yes, that Chris.
What the fuck's
Oh
wrong
my
with you
God.
today, man?
Yeah, I'm off. I'm off my game big time.
Okay, how did Chris Kyle die?
It was not a suicide. Hold on.
I call it blowback. See, Chris Kyle was busy training all these white boys for the Civil War. And what he was doing was taking all these PTSD guys, Marines, Navy, whatever, taking them out on the gun range and shooting a gun as therapy. And one of them shot and killed him,
Oh my God.
claiming that he shot and killed him for his truck. Now you got some people out there who are saying no, he was shot and killed because they were stopping Chris from training people for the Civil War. Now you got George Norrie with Coast to Coast, and they had their gun nuts on there. They had their NRA folks on there. I found it very interesting that the night Chris Kyle was announced killed, he spent a total of 15 seconds talking about that murder. He spent as much time on Chris Kyle as he did announcing Martin Luther King's birthday. Because, last night he had two guys on talking about the Democrats, the Republicans, and Donald Trump and impeachment. Because we're not a political show. George Norrie's full of shit. Because all Coast to Coast ever does is bring on Tea Party libertarian folks. That's all they bring on.
Yeah.
And they bring on the leader of the Oath Keepers, who came on that show and bragged how he was going to use the same pamphlet that was used to create the Civil War in Syria, the Civil War in Libya, the Civil War in Egypt, and how he was going to use that book in the United States to create the Civil War here.
Oh my God.
So you got all these dumbass cops, most of them white, but there's some colored boys too, who are members of the Oath Keepers here in the United States, and they're in police departments, most likely the sheriff's department. And they are ready for the Civil War. Now, those aren't going to be Trump's SS boys. Trump's SS boys would be more like the offshoot of Blackwater, run by Knights of Malta, Eric Prince. Meanwhile, his sister,
Betsy DeVos,
John Birch Society, who has no less than 16,000 counts of violation of federal law against her right now, and you don't see her in jail.
Wow. Well, she is the Secretary of Education, is she not?
That's why she's got 16,000 counts of charges against her for federal law, because she's been in violation of a judge's order, and she's still collecting money from schools, from students that aren't supposed to be having money taken from them. And this judge is like, you're in violation of my court order. Yeah, and guess what? They ain't doing shit about it. See, that's what's going on in this country, while you're being distracted with the isolated case of a tragic incident of a black woman who happened to have been killed by a white cop.
Just to foment that hate to enable those who want to wage war against us to have good cause. See, they're acting like animals. We got to put them down.
The Purge.
And
that's why they don't want you to see the movie The Joker. Because if you look at the movie Joker, you'll understand why we have all the Columbine shootings. Because that movie clearly tells you why we have the Columbine shootings. That movie didn't create no violence, but they're like, don't go see this movie. This movie should be banned because it's going to create violence. No, this movie's going to tell you why we have the violence.
And they don't want that out.
Hell no.
Bad for business.
The new angle. Well, in the movie, he dances to a song by Gary Glitter. Gary Glitter's a pedophile. How the hell could they use a song by Gary Glitter? My response to that? Every damn song in that movie is done by an organization where somebody in that band has been arrested for something you don't want to be associated with. If you're going to start basing movies and TV shows on music that's only made by somebody who doesn't have a sordid past, then you're not going to have many soundtracks out there.
I'm just thinking in my head how many people, can't listen to them, can't listen to them.
No shit. Starting with Jerry Lee Lewis taking his cousin across state lines.
Oops. Man act.
Come on, man. So people talk a lot of bullshit, but it's all propaganda to try to get you not to see something. See, when I'm told not to go see something, that's when I go see it. So having said that, let's get back to the Black Lives Matter. When you have a drug program called DARE, dude, that's telling children to do drugs. You don't dare a child to do something.
Right.
So let's take Black Lives Matter. They purposely gave it that title to piss off white America. Because all they had to say was Black Lives Matter also. Black Lives Matter too. TOO. And then white folks wouldn't be able to say shit. But when you say Black Lives Matter, that's like making it sound nobody else matters. So you got a lot of white folks who have already been turned off by the name of your organization.
Exactly.
That wasn't done by accident. That's psychological warfare.
War of attrition.
And meanwhile, they will loosely, first you have your house nigger like, David Clark, they will loosely attribute Black Lives Matter to some hellacious cop shooting. People don't do their homework and research, so they just go ahead and repeat the lie. Like I just said to you, that guy who shot those cops in Dallas had nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. You had a situation outside of Chicago where a cop was supposedly shot and killed by a white guy and a black guy from Black Lives Matter. And I'm like, okay, this story is bullshit. That dog don't hunt. It turns out later on, this cop had committed suicide. And surely anybody who does forensic can tell if it's a suicide versus being shot. And meanwhile, they were jacking up white folks, black folks, everybody in a 100 square mile area on this manhunt for this cop killer. And this was some fucking corrupt lieutenant who had been embezzling money from the youth activity fund. His son had gone into the U.S. Army so that they could defraud the U.S. Army and get benefits for this female that this cop was sleeping with and all this stuff. And then you had all these white cops, a lot of them follow me on Facebook, donating money after he was killed to his widow for some big memorial back in Illinois. And I'm like, folks, this story is bullshit.
Wow.
Oh, they unfriended me, blocked me, you're a cop hater, blah, blah, blah. And then it came out. This guy was not only embezzling money from this police department outside of Chicago, he had hired gang members to kill the prosecuting attorney who was investigating him.
Wow.
And then he commits suicide, and now all these white cops who call me every name in the book, they go on with their lives like they never had that conversation when I said, this story is bullshit. And Black Lives Matter had nothing. Worse, how many people got beat down,
right,
had their houses searched, had their fucking constitutional rights violated while they were looking for the black and white guys who killed this lieutenant.
Wow. That's the real story.
Okay? That's the kind of shit that goes on in this country every day. Okay? To this day, I have not been able to find one single cop who's been killed where there's a direct tie to Black Lives Matter. Yet, if you talk to the average dumbass cop, because this is a dumbass country, and law enforcement is just a reflection on this society,
right?
These dumbass cops will tell you about all the Black Lives Matter cop hater killers. Right. And it's bullshit. Now, I will say this. By the way, for you folks out there who think I'm making this story up, this was back in 2015 when I got blocked on Facebook, unfriended on Facebook by all these dumbass white cops because of a cop in Fox Lake, Illinois. His name was Lieutenant Joel Glinowitz. He committed suicide after embezzling money from his department's youth program and after he had his son marry one of his mistresses so that he and his son could defraud the U.S. Army as well as the U.S. taxpayers. And after he had actually tried to hire a gang member to assassinate a prosecuting attorney who was investigating him for fraud.
Talk about dirty cop.
So let's fast forward to in Ferguson, the family of Michael Brown, my namesake,
yes,
wants to reopen that trial, right?
They do.
Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not.
Of course not, because you're being distracted with the bullshit on the impeachment. And do you know when I talked about that Michael Brown shooting?
When? On a...
About 4 days before it happened. I'm at the U.S. Open of Surfing, which is the largest surfing contest on the planet. Professional photographer down below on the beach sees me up on the pier. I'm talking to a guy who's retired from KTTV, Fox 11 News. And when I see him taking a photograph of me, I have my little tough Olympic camera in my hand. And I'm like, hands up! Don't shoot! Don't shoot! No gun! I said that 4 days before Michael Brown was shot.
Oh, man.
And what's my name?
Michael Brown.
Yeah. Parle is my adopted last name.
Dang.
And I'd be damned if 4 days later Michael Brown doesn't get shot and killed. So you have all these white folks who love to repeat bullshit. And have you heard over and over and over and over and over and over and over again that Michael Brown didn't have his hands up?
Right. He did not. He was fighting.
So I challenge you folks to do your own research. Don't believe anything I tell you. Now, they had elections last year. That prosecuting attorney wasn't reelected. See, people in Ferguson and St. Louis County know what's going on. During that so-called grand jury, and there's a saying for us in law enforcement, a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich if they choose to.
Yes.
I'm telling you, that's a saying in law enforcement. So I had a whole lot of white folks block me, unfriend me on Facebook because I refused to jump on the jury in Ferguson because I'm like, this is bullshit. So I do a little research. It turns out of the 18 witnesses that prosecuting attorney had brought into the jury, he only used 2 of them. You know why?
Why?
Because 16 out of the 18 said Michael Brown had his hands up.
Wow.
Now 16 out of 18, folks, that comes back with an 88%. 88% of the witnesses
88
had said Michael Brown had his hands up. Yet all the right-wing radio kept doing was repeating this one witness. So for you folks who think I'm full of shit, do your own research. All you have to do is look up witness number 40 and put in Ferguson and see what you get. Now, witness number 40 is a self-admitted racist woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what happened was she might have been raped by a black guy at one time, because in her diary she says her mom says it's time for her to move on and get over it, but she can't. And I don't even believe she was even at the scene when Michael Brown was shot. What she did was went online and repeated stuff that she had read, and that's who they used as the testimony at the prosecutor for this grand jury thing. And that's what they keep repeating over and over again. So when you hear right-wing radio repeat it over and over again, all they're repeating is the bullshit testimony of witness number 40. Her name is Sandra McElroy.
McElroy.
I'm sorry. Have you ever heard this?
I heard no. This is horrible.
And this is why we have the problems we have in this country. Because there's not a damn thing I've said on this show today that people can't find themselves if they took their lazy asses and did some research instead of just going out and finding somebody who posts some bullshit on Facebook and it goes along with their empathy bias. So they go out and share it with the rest of the world and repeat the bullshit over and over and over again. Because the more you repeat the lie, the more it becomes the truth. The bigger the lie, the more it becomes the truth. Then when someone as myself comes back and tries to share with you facts instead of bullshit,
right,
share with you history instead of his story, then you're going to attack me because you've demanded that the lie be the truth. You've agreed with the lie, and you can't admit that you fell for the lie. I just had 10 white folks on one of my LAPD sites close to the public. All I did was posted a humorous photograph of Rudy Giuliani. Now, this photograph, by the way, is posted all over the subways of New York. Hey, if you want a corrupt lawyer, call Rudy Giuliani.
Yes,
if you want somebody who's going to backstab you, call Rudy Giuliani. If you want somebody who will do it pro bono because he has a hidden agenda, you call Rudy Giuliani. And these white folks on my LAPD site went ballistic. Now, mind you, when I posted the photograph, I didn't even write anything with it. I just posted the photograph. And I'm like, okay, these folks are in LA. Why the fuck do they give a shit about some corrupt-ass guy in New York? And so the only thing I can surmise is because they're all part of the same Masonic order.
Wow.
And they're all kissing the same ring. So they can't allow somebody as myself to come out and put something like that without them publicly. By the way, you have the House Negroes do the same thing. If you're in a room with a bunch of Boule members and you even say the word Boule and you're not a member, they have to get up and walk out the room.
Wow.
Because their loyalty is not to you. They're loyal to the Boule. Let me give you a good example since we're talking about cop shooting. Remember when the white guy from North Charleston shot and killed the black guy and then lied and said that the black guy had gained access to his taser and had he not shot the black guy, he would have been incapacitated?
Right.
But somebody across the street had videotaped the whole thing and it turned out to be bullshit?
Dude was running away.
So if it wasn't for the videotape, we wouldn't know the truth, would we?
No, we wouldn't.
And you know why we wouldn't know the truth?
Why?
Because there was a house nigga who wrote the police report.
Oh, man.
And he's a member of the FOP, who, by the way, support Donald Trump, the Fraternal Order of Police with their Masonic symbols. And their loyalty is to their Masonic brothers more than you. Now, you don't hear shit about this black guy who should be in prison for obstruction of justice, falsifying police report, tampering with evidence.
Yes.
No, you don't hear shit. And if it hadn't been for that black guy writing that bullshit police report, that cop would have been arrested that night instead of when somebody had the moral courage to come forward with a videotape. And I say moral courage, folks, because when we go back to the Dallas incident, you do realize the sister who made the videotape about Amber on that balcony talking to her boyfriend instead of rendering her sister to somebody she just shot, that black woman lost her job the next day. That black woman can't get a job in Dallas since she showed that video.
Wow. Wow. That's heavy. That's heavy. That's the punishment.
Look at Eric Gardner. The only people that went to jail in the Eric Gardner case were the ones who reported it.
There's your punishment. Well, when you was talking about those other two guys, the only thing I can think of, they were doing a Colin Powell job. How he wrote up that report during the Vietnam War, and he becomes, defense secretary eventually. You get rewarded.
You talking about Colin Powell as a major who made sure he did a good job of sanitizing the My Lai massacre case?
Well, I didn't really want to say that like that, but yes, that's why.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But you get rewarded.
Hey, I got a letter from Colin when he retired. Colin's a good old boy from you have to remember, Colin, his family's not from the U.S. Colin was knighted by the Queen, just like Schwarzkopf was, for the good job they did during the Persian Gulf War.
What? Oh, my God. That don't really sit too well with an American like myself.
Well, you're American. No, I'm happy for you because America is everything from the top of North America to the bottom of South America. So all my surfers from Brazil and Ecuador and from Chile, they're Americans too.
I meant to say Missourian. As a Missourian.
Well, that's much better. That's much better because you're only fucking confused there. You're such a proud state. You got blowhard, Oxycontin addict, pedophile Rush Limbaugh.
Oh. Don't talk about our state icon.
Give him a fucking statue.
But how can we have people who are so obviously loyal to other agendas be in positions?
Not to mention, I already said Jesse James. That's the neck of the woods they were hanging out.
Yep, down south-ish.
Missouri. Come on, man.
Missouri. But we have some good people like Truman.
I
did a lot for the
remember
world.
back in the old days, you could be 18 and drink on the cancer side, but you had to be 21. So all these dumbass teenagers would die every night coming back from the cancer side to Missouri, drinking over the Missouri River.
Oh my God! That's because our state we have a lot of good conservative values here.
Yeah, right. Because you have all the fucking racist, misogynist evangelicals and these far right wing Christians who do everything but be a Christian, but they're the ones who are supporting Trump in the White House right now. So, in fact, isn't Pompeo from Missouri?
Pompeo?
Yeah.
He might be. I'm not for sure. I'm not versed in where exactly he is from. Mike Pompeo.
You're from Missouri and you don't know?
I mean, I'm not that hardcore. Mike Pompeo.
Yeah, Mike Pompeo. Isn't he from fucking Missouri? Oh, I'm sorry. He's from Kansas. You're off the hook.
Okay, I was already say we don't have those kinds around here.
Okay, right.
No, but in all fairness, I find this disheartening that the people that you're talking about are in positions of power after the shady stuff they do. That's just my personal, and I think most logical, normal.
Dude, everybody Trump put in his campaign was John Birch Society and or somebody who has Russian oil oligarch financial deals. Tillerson got a medal from Putin for the great job he did to get them these cozy oil contracts. That's why they want global warming, because that's the only way they can get to that fucking oil that's up in the Arctic.
In Greenland.
They can't get to that ice without global warming.
There has to be a better way, though. There has to be a more appropriate way for us citizens of this nation to try to somehow save it.
Hey, are you going to go to the next Tea Party meeting in Kansas City, Missouri that's coming up?
No, I have to. I have some other things I have to attend to. Unfortunately, I won't be able to make that, because I don't think those people will be really open ear to what I got to say.
You going to go to Liberty, Missouri, where they love Donald Trump, Rush Limbaugh, and the Tea Party?
I can't say I can make that one either.
Damn. Are you an active member of the Missouri Tea Party 911?
No, sir. No.
Well, anytime you want to call, there's a nice woman back there called Janet Jorrett. Janet Jorrett, she's in the real progressive town of Camdenton, Missouri.
Oh no.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I keep up with these folks.
They're not very progressive in them parts. I mean, it really depends on your ideal progression, but oh no.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Come on, man.
No,
just because everybody, just because there's very few folks in their family tree don't mean shit.
That's harsh. That's harsh. They're little inbred. But the thing is, these inbreds are running the show. And I'm not talking about the local, I'm talking about the Queen, Her Majesty, the Queen of Malta, the Queen of the Church of England. I'm talking about those inbreds.
Okay. Name me somebody who's been president that's not a member of the fucking inbreds. All world leaders are related by blood. Even in Haiti, the guy's always got a French last name.
Well, we will find anomalies when we look at this thing all the time.
Anomalies? Name me one person who's a world leader that's not part of what they consider their fucking royal family. In fact, when they did World War I, there's a great book by a woman called, Barbara Tuchman. And that's not Tuck, Tuchman. Barbara Tuchman. When I was working at the academy, I had this LAPD sergeant. He used to think I was full of shit, too, until he started taking some classes at Pasadena College. And he's like, son of a bitch. And I had to give a lot of respect to this guy, because the one thing about him, he would always come back and go, dude, I thought you were full of shit until I saw that. Wow. So he's in Pasadena College. He's taking a class on World War I history. By the way, folks, we are in the same exact position today that led up to World War I. And what you see Trump doing over there in Syria, divvying up that to Syria and Turkey, was like Poland being divvied up prior to World War I. But anyway, I was saying, look, all world leaders are related by blood. You're full of shit. And then he goes and takes this class, and in that class, one of the books that was required reading, and I highly recommend this book, is called The Guns of October.
The Guns of October.
Barbara Tuchman. So let me make sure, since I can now look up stuff while I'm talking to you on the phone, because, they made me get rid of my damn
dial-up.
And now when my lights go out, I have no fucking telephone service.
But come on, you have to admit that you don't miss ding, ding.
Yeah, correct. The Guns of October. And I'm sorry, no, The Guns of August.
The Guns of August.
She wrote this in 1962. And in that book, she talks about the people at the funeral for Archduke Ferdinand from Japan, from England, from France, from Argentina, everywhere. And she's breaking it down. Who's the cousin here, and who's the uncle here, and who's the... Yeah, they're all related by blood. So this sergeant from LAPD, he was a SWAT legend, he came to work one day and goes, damn, that Parler, I thought he was full of shit, dude. Look at this book, everything he said. And I wasn't even familiar with that book, so I went out and, he gave me the copy of his once he was done with the college class. And then I bought the hard copy of Guns of August. Another great book by Barbara Tuchman, by the way, because I brought this up remember, what was the reason why I got back in the radio? What incident happened that why I said I could no longer sit on the sideline?
It was the Trayvon.
And who killed Trayvon?
Zimmerman, George Zimmerman.
And what kind of name is Zimmerman?
It's Jewish.
See, I knew you were going to say that. It's not fucking Jewish. It's German. Barbara Tuchman is the one who wrote the book, The Zimmerman Telegram, because that tells you about how they got World War I and how the U.S., who Wilson said he would never... Wilson, by the way, that's Trump's favorite president.
Wilson
and Andrew Jackson.
I knew he was.
Wilson did not want us in the war, and he hated the United Nations. Well, they didn't have the United Nations back then. They had what they called the
League of Nations.
The League of Nations, but he did not want to get us into World War I. He campaigned on not getting us into World War I. And if you notice, Trump wants to get us about... Basically, that was the predecessor to what the John Birch Society is today. So Wilson was also the most racist president. He's the one that played Birth of a Nation in the White House, which is why Obama played the movie in the White House 100 years later. But anyway, my point to you is, Wilson told everybody Birth of a Nation was a fucking historical fact.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So when you watch this movie, this is exactly how it happened. Thank God for the Klan saving the white girl from... Yeah. Anyway, I say this to you because the Zimmerman Telegram was used to get Americans so pissed off, demanding that Wilson would do something, because basically the Germans supposedly had cut a deal with Mexico. If the Mexicans attack the U.S., keep us busy, after Germany wins the war, they would give California, Arizona, parts of Texas back to Mexico.
Yes.
Now, of course, many of my mentors were Nazis, and I'll just say... some of what Barbara Tuchman states may not be accurate. In other words, the American people may have been led to believe that Germany had cut a deal with Mexico, when in fact that deal had not been cut. But that outrage, and then that was leaked to the media, like, stuff about Trump being leaked to the media to stir the pot up, but that's what got us into World War I. However, a very hard, but now those two books are easy to find. A book by Barbara Tuchman that I highly, 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 highly recommend, since we're always talking about Israel, and Israel stands for ISIS, Ra, and El, right? All sun god. Barbara, what? Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't bring that up on George Maxwell, because you didn't ask him the question I told you to ask, but let's move on. So, Barbara Tuchman wrote a book called The Bible and Swords, England and Palestine, from the Bronze Age to Balfour. I'll say that one again. Bible and Swords, England and Palestine, from the Bronze Age to Balfour. Why I mentioned that book? Because Muslims, Jews, and Christians didn't have a damn problem in Israel until the fucking British went over there and fucked it up. And it's the Balfour Declaration that has led to all the other bullshit going on today. So while Jordan Maxwell talks about, Zionism has a direct tie to Germany, well, duh. The British Queen is related to the Germans.
What?
But more importantly, that didn't start with Hitler and the Zionism. That started with Great Britain and what led to the Balfour Declaration. And Jordan Maxwell did not mention that on your show.
Wow.
So even though you got a guy who you think is telling you stuff, he ain't telling you everything. And I did a radio show back in 1993 where I said I'd give $5,000 to anybody who could show me one U.S. airplane, one British airplane, or any Allied airplane that dropped one single bomb on one train track leading from the concentration camp.
I don't think you're going to find any records.
Exactly.
Because it didn't happen.
And you didn't hear Maxwell mention that either. So he can't give it all credit to the Hitler because it was the United States and Great Britain that was eradicating the Jews right along with Hitler. In fact, that's why the Kennedys were cursed. Because when Jews were coming on a ship, Joseph Kennedy was on that ship coming back after he was trying to cut a deal with Hitler, and he was recalled back to the United States by Roosevelt. And he's on the ship with these Jews that were worshiping. He goes, "Don't you guys have a incinerator on this ship?" Because it was a steamship.
Right.
And the Jewish priest at that point cursed him and the Kennedy family.
Oh my God.
So for some of us with my background, we're not surprised when, Joe Kennedy
Dies.
didn't become the political leader that they were hoping for, and then John Kennedy died. Robert died, and then of course, worse than dying was to be remembered while you're alive for allowing this female to not drown, to die because the oxygen in the car was gone. And this is a guy who walked past a volunteer fire department to go back to the party like nothing happened.
He
told anybody at that party, "Hey, I fucked up. She's in the car." They would have been able to save her. She did not drown. She ran out of air. The air pocket in the car no longer had oxygen, and then she fucking died. Which means she was in that car for hours alive underwater, and nobody fucking helped her.
And that is murder. Drunk or not. I'm not trying. Everyone.
Not murder, but it would be
manslaughter.
negligence.
At least.
Yeah. So, so that's the curse of the Kennedy family because Joe Kennedy was on that ship. He was a Nazi. He didn't give a shit. Not to mention the fact he was a damn booze smuggler. That's how he made his money. But, he's on the ship as an ambassador, and he's like joking about killing the fucking Jews on the furnace on the ship.
That's incredibly insensitive, to say the least.
Yeah. Then, of course, if you want to know about some of my mentors, Barbara Tuchman also wrote a book called Stillwell and the American Experience in China. Because, see, if you folks want to know what's going on today, and when Donald Trump says make America great again, it has not a damn thing to do with make America white again. It's all about making America great from the time when Douglas MacArthur was going to drop a damn nuclear bomb on China.
Thank God he didn't.
Because the John Birch Society, John Birch was never a member.
No, he was
named
dead.
after John Birch because he's considered the first casualty in the war against communism.
So many men and women died.
And so John Birch supposedly was tortured and killed in China. So when you look at Barbara Tuchman's book, Stillwell and the American Experience in China, who do I always tell you are my three sources of mentors?
OSS guys?
Yes.
And then,
former World War II Nazis.
Correct.
And ONI. Well, Stillwell was the head of the OSS over there in China. In fact, and do you know who built those roads over there in Burma and China?
Who?
Black folks. So while people sit there and talk about Wild Bill Donovan and his success behind the lines, folks don't even realize had it not been for black folks building those roads, the OSS wouldn't have been successful in Burma and China.
Wow.
Those are some of the same black folks who later built the Alaska Highway.
Wow, and these men are not even remembered.
And it's sad because Burma today is called Myanmar, and the woman who was released from prison and was so highly touted, she's now killing people left and right in Burma. I still call it Burma. The way her predecessors did, nobody's talking about it. And there's a major border war going on between China and Burma now for quite a while.
Now, does China have legitimacy to possess Burma because of traditional land?
I don't know if anything's legitimate.
I mean,
does Israel have legitimacy to control the Gaza Strip?
that's a question from another time. I'm sure.
Well, I'm just saying, what's the difference?
Mm,
You got white folks in this country talking about they're taking their country back, and I'm like, their country?
wow.
You had Clive and Bundy up there in a federal territory talking about taking their land back, and I'm like, their land? What happened to the Native Americans who occupied that land before whites ever came here?
They were pushed aside. This world
Meanwhile,
is.
you got dumbass blacks now trying to push this whole thing that blacks were the original citizens. Oh, God, just stop. Oh, my
You talk
God.
about the Dame Calloway theory. But once again, this goes back to the confusion.
Full of confusion.
Yes.
Segregation, termination, demonstration, integration, aggravation, humiliation, obligation to our nation. Full of confusion. That's pretty good, huh?
But that's where we're at, brother.
See what happens when I stop drinking? See, you actually used to leave me to drinking. I quit drinking like 2 years ago now. So, and my hair is longer, so my receptacles are picking up all the shit that's flying out there now. That's why they want you to cut your hair short. When you cut your hair short, you don't even realize your natural antennas ain't available to pick up what's being put out. So you have some callers with some questions. Oh, I'm sorry. You asked about Trump being impeached or fucking reelected. No, what I've been hearing is Trump is trying to cut a deal right now so that he and his family, and they may have to relocate to another country, but just to ensure that he and his family are not criminally prosecuted. Once he's assured that he might step down.
Wow.
But he fucked up because he doesn't run this country, and he actually started believing his own bullshit. And when he got rid of Bolton, that was the final straw for the John Birch Society. It's kind of like the Kennedys. Joe Kennedy cut a deal with the mafia, and then like a dumbass, Robert Kennedy's out there going after Valachi and all the mafia boys. And they're like, what the fuck? We're the ones who put this motherfucker in the White House. Fuck Bobby. Cut the head off and the body will die. And the first thing Johnson did after Kennedy was killed was to fire Robert as district attorney, because Robert was not only going after the mafia, Robert was going after my boy from South Carolina, Bobby Baker, and LBJ. All those damn investigations just disappeared after Robert Kennedy was removed as district attorney.
That's the game. That's how it's played.
And incidentally, Robert Kennedy in '68, right before he came here to L.A. at the Ambassador Hotel, which Donald Trump, by the way, tried to buy, if you guys didn't know that. But the Ambassador Hotel, which is gone now, thank God I still have pictures of it. And I actually have a diagram, the full diagram of it. I should train the LAPD recruiter. But anyway, the Ambassador Hotel, before Bobby came here, he was interviewed by James Baldwin. And James Baldwin was like, what the hell are you Catholic folks? What the hell are you going to be president for? We colored folks been here longer than you. And he goes, and this is 1968. JB, don't worry about it. In 40 years, you will have your first black president. And when was Obama elected?
40 years later, 2008.
They always tell you what they plan on doing, because you think that you have a play in it. It's called political science, dude.
For a reason.
But the U.S. is going down because, see, the 19th century was the British Empire, the 20th century was the U.S., and now we're heading into the Asian Empire.
Now, that's not going to be cool.
21st century is for the Asians, and all these guys could go kicking and want to drop a nuclear bomb on China, but see, China's like an anaconda. The U.S. playing checkers while China's playing chess, and while the U.S. plans to strategize for 20 to 30 years advance, the Chinese, they strategize for centuries in advance.
Oh, man.
And China right now controls 90% of our U.S. debt, so they call it the chips on the U.S. debt, we're fucked. And in the meanwhile, China just sits back and let all these knuckleheads like Trump and them talk their bullshit because they don't even know what's coming down.
Exactly. You ready to take
we talk about the European mafia, mafia from Italy, even though most of those guys were Sicilian, not Italian. We talk about the Jewish mob. Dude, the Chinese triad have been around centuries before the Europeans ever had their mafia. And you don't fuck with the triad. And what the triad has now said, no longer will you folks in Hong Kong act like you're Americans. And that's why they're having all the demonstrations over there.
But see, that goes back to that one question. Do you think China has a legitimate right to tell the people of Hong Kong how to
Doesn't
carry on?
matter what legitimate is.
All right.
Legitimacy has nothing to do. You keep using that legitimacy. Legitimacy is irrelevant. Who has the money and who has the power is all that matters.
Well,
The golden rule. He who has the gold rules.
There
Come
it
on,
is.
man. So we'll take a call, yes, sir.
All righty. Hold
Damn,
on.
what time is it? How long have I been on this phone?
Just a couple of moments you've been on. Not that long. Caller, you there?
Damn, it's been 2 hours. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Caller, can you hear us? I can hear you. You've been holding on, caller. Are you there?
Yes, sir. I had a question for both of y'all. Really, I was just wondering, what would be the best way to reach the people in general of the corruption and everything that you all have talked about, and in a peaceful manner, and as well as getting the point across and making a movement as well to make a difference.
Did you hear that, Mark?
You will have to translate that for me.
The caller basically said, what kind of message can we give the people to make a peaceful movement to bring about a righteous change?
Okay, this is where I have to be careful here because I don't want anybody accusing me later on of incitement. The time for silence is over. Folks have waited too long, sitting back watching the Kardashians and playing, Donkey Kong and all the bullshit, getting drunk, opiate masses for sports, watching cable, and not paying attention to what's going on. And sadly, power has never recognized peaceful movement. Power only recognizes those who are a threat to their power. And we have gotten to the point now, the closest we came to making a change under the peaceful movement was Occupy Wall Street. But they hijacked that movement and basically shut that movement down.
Yep.
And that was probably the last movement where you're going to see where people were able to do something in a peaceful manner that was going to make a significant change. So I'm not calling for violence. I'm just saying there will be no change in this country again until you see what's happening in the movie The Joker. Because what you're describing is what The Joker's all about.
Wow. Caller, do you have another question, caller?
Yes, sir. I was just wondering, just on a local level, and what is the best way to be able to reach out to the say the school boards or anything that will get you to the local level to be heard in the first place, just to get people to open their eyes.
Okay, this is a very good question because all politics is local. Now, the right wing, specifically the Tea Party movement, which actually was started as taxed enough already, but that movement got subverted by the Johnson versus Society and was turned into something else. They were very smart. See, Democrats in general focus on national elections.
Correct.
Republicans focus on local. They take over your school boards. They take over your city councils. They take over your local judges. So now you had this blue wave in the United States in 2016. What does it matter with the blue wave when in Missouri, for example, the vast majority of your judges come from far right-wing backgrounds?
Right.
And then Trump is picking everybody at the hidden agenda with their Robert Bork acolytes are telling him who to pick. And so these guys have lifetime appointments so even like Trump can do whatever he wants. You can yell it's unconstitutional. You can sue him in court, but the court's going to be headed by one of Trump's appointed judges.
Yes.
And then once that gets passed, and then it goes to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court makes it law, it doesn't matter if it's right. See, folks act like the Supreme Court said it, so it must be right. No, the Supreme Court said it, and it's going to become the law. And they plan on getting rid of all the laws on the books that allows for blacks and women, which reminds me, PW, what year were you born?
1972.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your mother couldn't even own a credit card back then.
What? Wow.
Women in this country could not own a credit card till like 74. And I'm talking white women. See, folks don't realize. So when you hear them talking about taking their country back, that's who Pence and these boys are.
Damn.
Blacks had the right to vote before women did, so I guess black women couldn't vote. White women couldn't vote in this country 100 years ago.
And she came over with him on the ship.
She's the one who delivered him that allowed him to be able to come over here on the ship. What are you talking about?
I mean,
He came from a woman. So what my whole point is, they don't give a shit about women. They don't give a shit about blacks. They don't give a shit about brown. They don't give a shit about white.
they give a
Because
shit about
going back
money.
to this whole thing about cops getting killed and cops killing blacks and white, dude, it's not a problem unless they kill a affluent or wealthy white boy. Then it's a problem.
Yes.
Seriously, I'm just telling you. And if they end up killing an affluent white boy, there gonna be some changes in policy. Okay.
Well, just like the opioid epidemics. You know, back when I was a kid, when everybody was dying of crack and shit, or crack-related instances, no one gave a shit. But then it's like when the opioids, Mr. Billy Philsworth III dies or whatever. Now it's a problem. Now we got to manage pain pills. Now we got to.
No, it's a problem because going back to your question earlier about China, you don't seem to realize that the Boxer Rebellion was all about the UK and the Brits, the British Empire, with the United States backing them, forcing opium on the Chinese. Now the Chinese are in a position to force fentanyl on you. Because they look at the big picture 100 years from now.
Dang,
Okay, you Brits, okay, you Americans, you fucked us up the ass now, but guess what? we wait. Our time is coming, and now you're seeing fentanyl flooding the streets of the U.S. coming from China.
And that's the anal ring.
People in this country don't even see it.
It's not that.
Meanwhile, you got U.S. soldiers guarding the poppy fields in Afghanistan.
Yes.
It's there.
So going back to his question, though, you have to become involved in your school activities, your city council activities. They have city council meetings every week, and local people don't even show up. You have to go when the police commission is holding meetings. There are black individuals in LA who have forced LAPD to change a lot of their policy because they go down to those police commission meetings every week. Now, some of them get ejected from it, but they keep coming back because they know if they're not there, they're not going to hear the bullshit that's being passed because nobody's in the room to say, whoa, stop! We don't become involved. I promise you, I can walk out here right now. I live in Orange County. I can walk down the street, and the first 10 people I ask, hey, when's the next city council meeting come up? They look at me, what the fuck are you talking about?
Exactly.
And most of these big cities, they even have the commission meetings on public access television where you can watch it at home. No, we ain't gonna watch that shit. Man, I gotta watch, Games of Thrones, man.
Or Kardashian shake her butt.
Yeah, seriously. So become involved in the public school, because people buy homes based on what neighbors have the best schools.
Yes.
Become involved with the city councils. Become involved with local elections. Go down and get involved with the registration, because let me tell you, you go to places like Oregon now, you can't even vote at a voting booth.
Why?
Everything's done online.
Wow.
So what happens to all the people who don't have computers?
They don't vote.
Meanwhile, here in LA, you can tell how corrupt it is because KFI, which is, far right wing, is promoting the same crap that all the so-called Democrats are promoting. This new computer system for the voting coming up in the 2020 election.
Oh, well,
and it's already been proven that the voting machines can be hacked.
Wow.
So remember, California has always been traditionally a Democratic stronghold. Don't be surprised if all of a sudden you see, wow, Los Angeles is becoming more conservative. Look at the results of the voting. And nobody's talking about, well, I do. I talk about it. I put it out there. How the registrar office here, and they're touting this new computer system, and it's bullshit. Because this new computer system is going to make it more susceptible for corruption. And Trump has decimated the Federal Election Commission because he's made sure that they only have 6-6, so they'll never have a majority of any type. So the Federal Election Commission is not going after anybody for violation of all these campaign violations that's going on right now.
Re-election time.
Stalin said it best. It matters not who you put up for election. It matters who counts the vote.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So brother, if I was going to say school, get involved with your schools, get involved with the city councils, get involved with your local voter registration, because now they're trying to force everybody to go to this real ID card. And if you don't have a real ID card, you won't be able to vote.
I mean, listen to what you said. Real ID. If you don't have the real ID card, you're not real.
Yeah. Well,
You got another question, caller? I mean, you did hold on an extremely long time, so.
After doing that, well, what in your opinion would be the next process to make that more relevant in other areas?
That's very
or
vague.
States.
Did you catch that, Mark?
I can't understand what he's saying. You have to translate for me.
All right, he's basically saying after we take those steps of, I guess, infiltrating the local government area, where do we move? How do we kind of unite from state to state to be a global or a nationwide force?
It's not a matter of infiltrating. You should be caring about your community. It should be a matter of your damn civic duty. It's not. I don't look at it as infiltrating. What I'm saying is this, brother. People complain about the system, but they don't actively get involved in the system. If you became involved in the system, you would be able to do what they're doing. You can't change the system from the outside. You have to change it from within. If you want to use the term infiltration, that's fine. But it's a matter of when you become involved in the electoral process on the local level, you don't need me to answer that question for you, because what's going to happen is it's going to be connected to the county level, which is connected to the state level, which is already connected to the national level.
Yes, sir.
Because when they have a state election, they're gonna need people from your city to vote for that state candidate. When they have a county election, they're gonna need people from your city to vote for that county official. And on the national level, trust me, I'm not a registered Democrat or a registered Republican, and I get mail from Joe Biden right now. Why? Because I wrote a check. See, here's the thing I do. All I do is write them a small check. I write a small check to Trump. I write a small check to Biden. That way I get all their information from both sides and know how these fucking people plan on screwing you up the ass. See, most of us, we are registered a certain party, so you only get the mail from a certain party. I'm not registered with anybody, and I get the mail from both of them, so I can come out and tell you what they plan on doing to you. Seriously. No, seriously.
Hold on.
And I can't register only because I use a post office box. I refuse to give my home address, so they say I can vote twice, so they won't let me register. But you know, when the day comes, like in Oregon, that doesn't matter, because in Oregon I can vote electronically, which means I don't have to give them an address anymore, because even the homeless can vote now. And if you're not aware of it, the state of Wisconsin already has a company where the employees have a microchip under their skin. So I guess the day will come is all I have to vote is flash my damn arm across my computer screen, which will verify who I am, and then I can vote.
Wow. We got another caller on the line. You there, caller?
I am.
Awesome. What question you have for Mark?
Mark, I know that the Olympics are going to be held in Tokyo.
Yeah,
what do you know about Fukushima?
This will be the first time that surfing is going to be in the Olympics.
Say again?
This will be the first time that surfing will be in the Olympics?
Yes, but it's in radiated water.
Oh, so your question's Her question's about Fukushima, possible contaminating the water that the surfers may have to surf in.
I'm not a big fan of Kelly Slater's ranch up here in Lemoore, California, you know, where they stole Native American land and stole this land real cheap to Kelly. But I say if they don't have a Kelly-type pool in Tokyo, the Olympics is going to be a disaster for surfing the first time around because it's supposed to be more like a demo sport. And the waves in Japan during that time of year suck. And I have concerns too about Fukushima. So there's already been rumors that they're not going to hold the Olympics the way they normally do because it appears that the last time the Olympics were held in Japan, they had some problems. So they ended up holding the events like in August. Now that won't matter when it comes to the surfing. If they don't build an indoor ranch like Kelly's Pool here in California at the surf ranch, then I see that being a bad move for surfing the first time around the Olympics. Now, of course, 2024, the Olympics is going to be held in France, and France has their shit together, so it's going to be a lot better. However, trying not to be doom and gloom or pessimistic, I stated back in 2008 that I gave it a 50-50 chance that you're even going to see the Olympics in Japan because I believe we're going to have a terrorist attack prior to that that's going to lead to World War, and they're going to have to cancel the Olympics.
Wow.
I'm just telling you. And if Trump feels panicked with his back to the wall and feels now he's going to be forced out the White House, all he has to do is create a war because we don't get rid of presidents while they're in office while there's a war going on.
That is true. Caller, you have a question for Mark?
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Mark. It's Kiki from Iowa. I have a question. What do you think about all these? There's been some rumors out lately that Obama is not really that Obama's dead or something like that, and that he was tried for treason. And they think that the same thing is happening to Elijah Cummings, even though Elijah Cummings did a really bad job in Baltimore. But they were, like talk of foul play and everything. So, what is your opinion on that?
All right, brother, you're going to have to translate because I can't hear anything they're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, that's Kiki from Indiana, and she was asking about the conspiracy theory that Obama's really dead. I believe he was tried for.
Okay. And since Kiki's still on the phone, so she gets to ask another question because this is what I specifically stated. If you're not asking me questions about law enforcement, I am not going to answer any questions. I'm on this show today because too many black folks are calling up and putting on crap on my Facebook how black folks are treated differently by the white cops. So I'm here today to sort it out for you folks when it comes to you and the contact with law enforcement.
All right, Kiki, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. Okay, I didn't know that because he was answering other type of questions not related to law enforcement. But I guess my next question would be for him. What do he see happening with Chicago and the militarization that they keep trying to push there?
All right. She's asking basically, what do you think about Chicago and the militarization that they're pushing there? I guess in the police department.
Well, it's not confined to Chicago. Chicago has black sites. You can go back and even watch the show Scandal with Kerry Washington. And in their first episode of Scandal, they show you black sites where people have been taken by police. Now, that was in D.C., but Chicago has the same thing where they actually take people off the street, arrest them. Families don't know where they are. They haven't been formally charged with a crime. And they're basically treated the way we treat people down in Guantanamo Bay. Many of your law enforcement, especially the larger ones now, have been combining with federal agencies and creating what's called fusion centers.
Yes.
So with the fusion centers, this is how they gather intelligence. But the problem with fusion centers, you have a situation where back in the 80s, LAPD had a major spy scandal. It was involving Public Disorder Intelligence Division, where they were doing illegal domestic spying. Now, that organization was basically a front within LAPD for the Western Goals Foundation. Western Goals Foundation was a John Birch Society organization. The head of the John Birch Society organization at the time was a Congressman, Andrew McDonald, out of Georgia, and Larry McDonald. Larry McDonald was the head of the John Birch Society along with Western Goals Foundation. So when that whole scandal with LAPD became public, LAPD disbanded PDID, which translates into they just turned themselves into several other smaller organizations with different names. But more importantly, Western Goals decided to do what they're going to do privately because, see, they don't have to be under government auspices, government regulations, taxpayers' money, and they don't have to answer to rules and regulations. So Western Goals fled to Great Britain, and they were behind the scenes pretty much with all the crap going on with Brexit, because you had people like Rupert Murdoch with his newspaper. He destroyed Australia. He went over to Great Britain and basically destroyed Great Britain, and he's come to this country and he's destroyed the United States. So when you had PDID disbanded, while folks in the street are touting victory, what they didn't realize was all these government police departments that were doing illegal domestic terrorism have been replaced now by private organizations. And these fusion centers, up to 60% of the so-called intelligence personnel in these fusion centers are not actually working for the government. You look at a guy like Snowden. Snowden was working for NSA, but before NSA, he was working for CIA. He was involved in the scandal of CIA before he ever went to NSA. But both times, whether CIA or NSA, he was actually a private contractor. You got this knucklehead that comes on radio now, right-wing radio, called Buck. I can't even think of his name. Buck. He's just, but he brags about how he was CIA and NYPD.
Anderson Cooper.
I'm sorry?
Anderson Cooper?
I said Buck. Did I say
Buck.
anybody named Anderson Cooper? Anderson Cooper doesn't do a radio show.
Oh.
Buck Sexton is his name. And he brags about being CIA and NYPD. And no, he was a private contractor working for them. Okay? And besides, people who are CIA don't brag about being CIA. Anyway, so you got this guy out there spewing this right-wing stuff, but there's guys like himself who became a part of these intelligence agencies. And these police departments are getting their intelligence from these agencies, not realizing they're not getting facts. They're getting intelligence that's skewed by private corporations who plan to make money based on how that intelligence is used in the community.
Wow.
Same thing on a federal level. Now, yesterday I just heard Susan Rice. Remember that name, Susan Rice?
Yeah.
Okay, Susan Rice was working, within Democratic and Republican presidential administration. And Susan Rice admits, because she's got a new book she's promoting, and she says it's in her book, I lied to the American people. But I didn't lie to the American people knowing I was lying. I was fed bad information.
Right.
Remember what Colin Powell said about the damn yellow cakes?
What?
He was fed bad information.
I know nothing. That's always the defense.
Dude, okay, listen, you're not hearing me. Even, see, here's the problem, okay? I used to have high-ranking Marine Corps officers would go to these top-secret intelligence briefings. And then some of them would come to me later on and say, hey, what do you think? Because they know at those briefings they were being fed a bunch of bullshit. Now, of course, they didn't know this initially. It's just that I was always the rebel, the radical. I'm like, dude, that's bullshit. I'll give you a better example, like LAPD. LAPD would have this black guy and white female who were partners that were working anti-terrorist division. And then they're giving a brief on the Nation of Islam. I'm like, first of all, no black guy with a white girl is going to get inside the mosque of the Nation of Islam unless they think you're a fucking cop. So if they're the ones providing the intelligence, dude, this is bullshit. I go, what he's doing is reading something some FBI agent gave them, and they're just regurgitating it. And I said, that shit came from the FBI because they got some private contractor doing it. I go, this is bullshit. I go, look, y'all want to know what Farrakhan's going on? Let me tell you what's going to happen with Farrakhan. And I told him, I go, Farrakhan wants to he wants to keep his U.S. citizenship and he wants to keep his British citizenship. So he ain't gonna do anything while he's in town to piss off the Queen because he wasn't born in this country. He was called Calypso Louis because he used to be a Caribbean musician. He's getting older now. He's not feeling well, and he's gonna play the fucking violin at the Cerritos Performing Arts Center. And all these white LAPD cops look at me like I'm fucking crazy and paranoid. and guess what Farrakhan did? Farrakhan came to LA and played his fucking violin at the Cerritos Performing Arts Center.
Yes.
So when you look at places like Chicago, where that house Negro already show where he's coming from when it comes to that case involving Empire, okay? Go back and look at that house Negro and how he came out and went after the guy from the TV show Empire. He's letting you know who he answers to. And the militarization of local law enforcement has been increased tenfold since the days of PDID because it's been privatized. And once the Tea Party gets enough elected officials in office to cut the federal funding for a lot of these programs, those federal fundings will be replaced by private organizations. And you're going to be basically, it goes back to the old days. Before you had the Secret Service, do you know what we had there? Host?
No, not before the Secret Service. Pinkerton. Private, but they were a private outfit, weren't they?
Yeah. That's what the Secret Service came from.
Wow.
So when these people say they're taking their country back, that's what they're going back to. You know why Ross Perot was so popular?
Why?
Because he had his own private army, and when the U.S. government couldn't rescue somebody who had been taken hostage in another country, he would send his former Navy SEALs, Wackenhut, and all these other crazy people that was working for him and his oil companies, and he would send them from his Texas ranch. They would go over there, rescue the hostage, and bring them back here.
Wow.
All these oil companies have private armies. When you go overseas and you're drilling for oil in another country, you can't use U.S. military to guard your shit.
You can't. So you use ex-military personnel as employees.
Go back and watch the stupid ass documentary, "The Men Who Built America." Pinkerton was larger than the U.S. Army. They were the ones who put down the striking workers, white folks, in the U.S. steel mills.
Yes.
They were larger than the U.S. Army. Right now, we got private contractors around the world, and if you look at the number of private contractors around the world, they are larger than the U.S. Army.
That's insane.
That's what's going on with the so-called militarization, because what you have is all these Defense Department people with these lucrative contracts with defense contractors, and they don't have a place for this crap anymore. So what they try to do is take these military vehicles, instead of destroying them, giving them to the local police department.
Yep.
So you got places like UC Berkeley that has a SWAT team and got armored vehicles. You saw what happened in Ferguson.
Oh, yes.
So it's not confined to Chicago, and I know Kiki was kind of caught surprised because obviously she wasn't listening at the beginning of the show, because I specifically stated, I am on here today to talk about law enforcement. So I'm not giving Kiki a hard time, but look, if you're not asking me about a law enforcement question, I'm not going to answer it. Because too many people are attacking me on Facebook with their bullshit, thinking they know what's really going on when it comes to law enforcement. And this is something we need to talk about. So I'm not here to talk about conspiracies and who's dead and who's alive and all that other crap. Seriously.
You're here to stop people from getting hurt by getting riled up.
I'm here to people to educate themselves on how the system's really working, because they're setting themselves up to be taken out by the system. And it's so plain today for me. And, I don't trust Black Lives Matter and all these other organizations. Who really created that organization? Because first of all, I would never come up with a name like Black Lives Matter. But what I was told was a white guy who created that organization.
I heard it was a black lesbian, but...
No, I heard a black lesbian takes credit for it, but I heard it was a white... He might even be Mossad. But let's check this out. white Mossad male created Black Lives Matter and see what we come up with. Because I don't know, but this is what I was told. So let's see what see, this is the thing, folks. Do your own damn homework. Don't listen to anything I come on this show and tell you. And how did Kiki know I was going to be on this show today anyway? How does anybody know I'm on the show since you said you weren't going to tell anybody I was coming on?
Well, actually, I kind of made a short video while I was cooking last night. It was only a 51-second video, but I didn't want people to be upset.
So
because
you did. Okay, I'm finding something right now. Who is the white guy behind Black Lives Matter?
Wow.
I'm just telling you. This is what's coming up when I Google it. A black lesbian created. You know, the black lesbians who follow the white lesbians, like
follow the leader.
Like Gloria Steinem. And who was Gloria Steinem?
She was just recently in the news.
She was CIA too. I have black feminists who block me on Facebook when I tell them that because they're pissed off when I say that. I know they go look it up later. No. You know what? It's just like these white cops that are already biased. Because I had a white cop the other day. I showed him a photograph of Trump and a mafia guy who was going to cut Trump's balls off because Trump wanted to sleep with his daughter. I bet you doesn't prove anything. I go, you obviously did no research before you commented. I have to commend the guy because he actually admitted, no, I didn't do any research. I go, yeah, but you know what? All these other cops on here who weren't so stupid as you to comment, I bet you right now they're busy typing away because they know I don't lie. So unlike you who didn't even do any research but came right back to defend Trump and Giuliani, they're looking it up right now and they know that this mafia guy was going to cut Trump's balls off because Trump said to his Mac on his daughter. And I have a photograph of the two of them together. Because everything I'm telling you folks, you can find out for yourself if you didn't take the time to do it instead of being so fucking lazy and expect to have some oracle out here who you can just ask all your questions to, and I'm supposed to be like Wikipedia and answer all your goddamn questions. I have people all day long sending me shit on Facebook. I'm like, dude, do you think I fucking sit around all day waiting for you to ask me? And then when they ask me a question, I wish I was thinking this up. These guys will ask me 15 fucking questions in one paragraph and then tell me, well, you didn't answer this question 4, 5, 6. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yes.
What? You pay to put food on my table. I'm supposed to be sitting here at home waiting for you to ask me fucking questions because I don't have a life?
Yes. And if when your mailbox get full, then they hit me up. Then they come right after me.
No, and then they have the fucking audacity to be calling me at 2 o'clock in the morning. Which doesn't matter because, as you know, you can tell them, I don't answer my phone.
Right.
What you've got here is failure to communicate.
Get used to it, folks. He has a life.
I still have a flip open phone and I have my home phone, and it doesn't matter because you get the same message on both. And then I decide whether or not I'm going to call that motherfucker back when I get the message. And since most people today think that they don't even have to leave a message, well, I'll just leave my phone number when I call them. Well, guess what? When you call me on my phone at home, it doesn't leave your phone number, so I don't have your phone number. So all you dumbass folks who think by not even leaving a message, you wonder why you don't get a return call. I don't call people when I see a phone number and I don't even know who the fuck it is.
Right.
But that's the world we're living in. People are sitting on their fat asses expecting everybody else to do their homework and research. So what they end up doing is getting their homework and research for somebody who has a hidden agenda, who's lying to them, who's leading them to the slaughter.
Yes. There it is. And you're paying for it too. You're paying top dollar for them books, top dollar for those damn CDs, all that shit just to be hastened to the fucking slaughter, man.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox now, and I hope that helped answer Kiki's question.
All righty. And we.
Hi, Kiki.
Well, she's already gone. There's a.
Oh, she's listening. I'm sure she's listening. Hey, have you ever seen Kiki, man? Kiki's a sexy sister.
I'm a married man. Caller, are you out there?
It's okay because I only date white women. I mean, just look at all my pictures, right?
All right, what's your question for Mark, caller?
Okay, I didn't know that he was just taking questions about law enforcement. I kind of came into your show halfway.
Okay.
But, so I thought of one.
Well, hang
I wanted
on.
to know,
Okay.
with
Whoa,
the
stop.
advent-
Hold on one second, caller.
Brother, where you calling from?
Where you
I'm
calling
from Virginia.
Okay, you're from Virginia, and since I grew up in racist ass South Carolina, Virginia, I'm going to give you a pass, brother. Just ask what you were planning on asking.
Okay, well, thank you. It concerned the Club of Rome and the book, the Limits to Growth, and how we seeing that play out with carbon tax, and is it a correlation between that? Will we have a carbon tax imposed on us? And just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And thank you for what you do. I want to say that. Thank you so very much.
Okay, I'm gonna see. Believe it or not, what he's talking about is related to the law enforcement thing. So he may not realize that. Dick Gregory, until the day he died, there was a book that he always carried with him. It's called The Committee of 300 by John Coleman. Now you can buy those books in used bookstores and stuff. But I don't know, because you know me, when I recommend a book, guess what happens? It sells out, and these motherfuckers go, damn, this is a new interest in these books. But seriously, there's a book called The Committee of 300 by John Coleman. Now, John Coleman and I used to appear together sometimes on radio shows back in the 90s. Strange thing has happened ever since Obama got elected. Not only would John Coleman refuse to come when I returned to the radio airwaves in 2012, Carl Nelson and I would try to get John Coleman on. Not only would he not agree to appear, he said nobody's even allowed to replay any of the old shows that he appeared on.
What?
Now, of course, he doesn't have the ability to stop that, because, I mean, if a radio station is the one that owns that fucking show, I mean, he can't stop them from doing it. But the full title of the book is called Conspirators' Hierarchy, The Story of the Committee of 300 by John Coleman. There's no other book that I can think of that details, and now of course this book is outdated, because this book was written back in the 90s, but this book breaks it down and tells you how even the Beatles was a master plan to use to cause white teenagers to rebel against their parents.
Wow.
And if you notice, the Beatles were all knighted by the Queen. So they must have done a good job, huh?
Tavistock Institute. Tavistock.
Right. Well, Tavistock.
Yeah,
And Tavistock is listed in that book. But that book lists all of them. The Club of Rome. A lot of black organizations, too. In fact, hang on a second here, because I always keep a copy, just like Dick Gregory, I always keep a copy nearby. Hang on a second.
I just want to say, caller, thank you for waiting so long. I know the wait time for the show has been kind of hit or miss. Some people get in, some people, wait, but appreciate your patience and thankful for your question.
Thank you for doing what you do.
And so the thing is, when the brother was saying this, and I was saying how this is tied into law enforcement, most people don't realize, like, for example, right now, you take LAPD and all these big city police departments, they are getting their training from the Israeli Defense Force. And I already told you, Israel didn't have any problem with Jews, Muslims, or Christians until what?
The Baileys.
Until the Brits went over there and with the Balfour Declaration. See what I'm saying?
Yes.
So even in Israel, folks don't realize the influence that Great Britain has on Israel. So when you look at this book, Conspirators' Hierarchy, and I have to say it's kind of outdated now, because let me see, this book was written in 1992. So there's some things in the book now that has been expanded, because I mean, actually not even expanded. What I should say is a lot of these, just like corporations, they have merged. So I'm just going to give you quickly here some of the agencies that's named in here. Agency for International Development. Ever heard of them? What?
Agency.
You've never heard of AID?
Maybe I'm known underneath a different name.
No,
like UNICEF.
AID. Anyway, AID, a lot of us, we just joke about it. AID is all the tree huggers that want to be CIA but can't be. Well, have you ever heard of the American Civil Liberties Union?
Yes. Heard of them.
Have you ever heard of the Anti-Defamation League?
Absolutely.
The Aspen Institute.
No.
The Association of Humanistic Psychology. The Bilderbergers.
Yes.
The Center for International Policy.
Yes.
The Club of Rome, which I believe the brother from Virginia specifically mentioned.
Yes.
The Communist League.
No.
The Council on Foreign Relations.
Yes.
The Bears Consolidated Minds.
Yes.
The East India Committee of 300.
No.
The Ford Foundation.
Yes.
Harvard University.
Yes.
Fabian Society.
No.
Knights of Malta.
Yes.
League of Nations.
Yes.
Massachusetts Institute of Technology.
Not really. No.
The Mellon Institute.
No.
The NAACP.
Yes.
The National Council of Churches.
Yes.
The National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
No. Normal.
You've never heard of Normal.
Oh, yes. Yes. Yes.
Dude, you ain't even listening.
No, I have heard. I have had Normal on the show before. I know Normal.
I just said the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws.
Yeah, but I'm it didn't really.
In fact, I'm the one who set it out because in the book they just say Normal. Have you ever heard of NATO?
Yes.
You ever heard of the Permindex?
No.
All right, let's stop right there for a second. And let's get back to the law enforcement connection to this. So the brother asked about Club of Rome and all that. And he's from Virginia. So, Permindex. Have you ever heard of a guy named Clay Shaw?
Clay Shaw.
Damn.
No.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Clay Bertrand?
No.
Have you ever seen the movie JFK?
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen that.
Well, in JFK, Kevin Bacon is the gay guy who's in Angola prison and tells Jim Garrison, you don't know what's going on because you've never been fucked up the ass, Mr. Garrison. And he talks about how he went to all these very exclusive gay parties down in the bayou in New Orleans. And those parties were hosted by Clay Shaw.
Who is
and Clay Shaw also used the name Clay Bertrand. So when Garrison had him on trial, Shaw fucked up because when he got arrested by New Orleans Police Department, he used his AKA when he was being fingerprinted. And the judge refused to allow him to put that testimony in the court because Clay Shaw represented Permindex out of New Orleans. And Clay Shaw, AKA Clay Bertrand, worked for Richard Helms. You have heard of Richard Helms, haven't you? Oh, God. See, this is what I'm talking about. My brothers and sisters, and then they argue with me on Facebook.
Well, I'm not alone. I know a lot of other people haven't heard of them. I mean, what does Permindex do in Louisiana?
I guess you guys have some homework to do, don't you?
Yes.
Because you don't even know who Richard Helms is. Let me just make it simple for you. I told folks a couple of weeks ago on Carl Nelson's show, Trump, no, I didn't use these words, but Trump fucked up because he got rid of Bolton. Getting rid of Bolton was like JFK getting rid of Allen Dulles. Getting rid of Bolton was like Richard Nixon getting rid of Richard Helms. When Nixon got rid of Richard Helms, that's when they took him down. First, they got rid of Spiro Agnew, replaced him with Rockefeller. I'm sorry, with Gerald Ford. Then they replaced Nixon with Gerald Ford, brought in Rockefeller, and you had a president and a vice president running this country that nobody had ever voted for.
And it didn't even matter.
So when the brother's talking about the Club of Rome, folks, that's a show that would take 20 hours minimum just to touch the surface. I highly recommend. Oh, have you ever heard of the Rand Corporation?
Yes.
Princeton University.
Yes.
Rhodes Scholarship.
Of course.
Stanford Research Institute.
Yes.
Tavistock.
Yes. I've known
Trilateral Commission.
Yes.
World Council of Churches.
Yes.
The International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
Of course.
Kissinger Associates.
No, I haven't heard of them.
You never heard of Henry Kissinger?
I heard of Henry Kissinger, but I didn't know
Stop already.
Okay.
Organization of American States.
No.
Damn, dude, you got a lot of homework. RCA.
I don't know what the acronym is.
RCA.
Oh, RCS. I've heard of them.
Well, that's what I just said.
Okay.
YMCA.
Yes.
So now the brother asked his question, and I said I was going to tie it into law enforcement. The Royal Police of Hong Kong.
No.
My point to you is that's a law enforcement agency that's listed in this book. Who the fuck right now is creating all the problems over there with the demonstrations in Hong Kong?
The police.
The Royal Police of Hong Kong, who were trained by the British.
Right.
Because in 1997, Great Britain so-called gave Hong Kong back to the Chinese, but they were supposed to allow the Hong Kong people to still live like they were in Western America or Western England.
Right.
And the triads and the old folks saying, nah, fuck that. you commit a crime in Hong Kong now, you come into mainland China and you're going to face trial like everybody else over here does.
Oh.
That's what the protest is all about. And so when you see the NBA talking their bullshit and initially protested it, and then that guy ran over and go, we don't have a problem with you killing people in Hong Kong.
Wow.
Who makes their shoes in China?
Nike.
And who cuts the contract with all these NBA players?
Nike.
And so Nike told the NBA commissioner, you better kick your ass over there and change that shit right now.
Oh my
and
God.
then Colin Kaepernick, you ain't heard shit from him because who's he sponsored by?
Nike.
Follow the money. So when the brothers talking about the Club of Rome is only one of many. And sadly, because of so much deregulation when it comes to the banking laws, many of the names listed in this committee of 300 is not really valid anymore because they no longer exist, especially after the 2007-2008 stock market crash. They've been bought out, sold out, taken over by other banking industries, for example. Because, back in the 90s, I should tell people, you had 5 branches of the service. You don't really have 5 branches of the service today because the Coast Guard actually comes under Homeland Security now. But back in the 90s, the Coast Guard came under the Treasury Department, except during time of war, and then they came under the Department of Navy. So basically, the Coast Guard was owned by the Giannini family. Now, you know them as Bank of America, but they're not Bank of America. They're Banca d'Italia of America. And the Navy was owned by the Rockefeller family. The Air Force is owned by the Mellon family. The Army was owned by the DuPont family. And the Marine Corps was owned by the Morgan family.
So who's going to own the Space Force? Trump?
We don't talk about that. But I will say it's funny you brought that up because that's what the warring factions are deciding on right now. Because see, they've already decided they don't need Earth anymore. They're like locusts. They're moving on to bigger and better things. They're leaving the Earth for us, and they're already planning their exploration of other planets that they're going to claim, like Christopher Columbus discovered. Now they're going to go out and discover other planets.
Doctrine of Discovery in Outer Space. Sounds like a movie.
Right. And so what you even have is, and you can look this up for yourself, they already plan on having a game show televised from Mars by the year 2025.
That's crazy.
No, I'm serious. So when you look at a movie like Elysium is a lot more realistic than people realize.
All the high technology in heaven, and we're down here just a bunch of peasants trying to get irradiated.
So let me see what it says, since I tell you folks don't listen to anything I'm saying. So I'm going to put right now, game show on Mars. Yeah. There are folks right now who are hoping to have a game show on Mars by year 2020. Well, they say 2020, but I think they're behind schedule. So, if you go back and look even at the movie Contact, it wasn't the NASA that went out into space because some zealot had blown up, some like far right wing evangelical had blown up the NASA center, and what they used was this private Japanese company.
They privatized space exploration.
And that's what they've done.
Yeah.
They take the taxpayers' money to get all the research and development out of the way, and then once they perfect it, they privatize it and charge you like $250,000 for one ride just to the outer spheres of the Earth's atmosphere, and you said you've been out in space.
Exactly.
Yeah, Virgin, Galactic, and all those. Yeah.
And we stand here for it, or sit here for it, rather, the citizens.
Yeah. Well, we don't, because most of us going to be left right there on this toxic planet. The average American is never going to be able to. The average American doesn't have $800 in a savings account.
But that's
so we
all
damn
about.
sure ain't paying no $250,000 to fly out to the fucking spheres. But people thought it was a big deal to go to damn Disneyland or Disney World. These motherfuckers have moved on beyond Disneyland. They're
going to the real fantasy land, the cosmos.
Yeah. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they've already built an amusement park up on the moon. You're laughing. I'm serious as a heart attack.
Well, they're still going to need a cook and a worker unless they get that AI and robot together.
There you go. You just said it, because AI and robot doesn't have to worry about the oxygen. They don't have to pay all that money to put you in a fucking suit. What good is it for you to be cooking for me if you got to be in some bubble? I'm serious. And see, this is all connected to what the brother said and what you just said, because now let's bring it back to what I was talking about today. For all you black folks who think you're changing the system, fighting the system, you don't even realize it, but you're setting it up for them to replace the white racist cop with AI and cyborgs. Because that's the plan.
That's your
because
future.
the cyborg won't be racist. The cyborg won't be misogynist. We can program the cyborg just to come out to protect and serve.
Until we program it to kill you, darkies.
There you go. And even Samuel Jackson was in the remake of RoboCop showing you what the plan was. Because he was the front man for the big corporation. Because they're going to reduce the population. Because you are useless eaters.
See, that right there should get everybody fired up. That should get everybody not fired up. No rioting, nothing like that. But I'm talking about psychologically engaged in the conversation of common cause and purpose, and maybe a future.
So as long as we keep talking the black-white thing and stay separate from each other as we're fighting unjust, it's never going to be a successful movement, because the oligarchs have done a masterful job of separating you, and you're not willing to listen to your white brothers and sisters who might be there to help you.
Correct.
Because while you're black folks thinking that it's all about blacks, I can take you to small town America where everybody in those towns are white, and they're getting their ass shot and killed every damn day, and you don't hear about it. Or like I said, I live right here in Orange County. You can get the OC Weekly every week, and Scott Montley telling you a story about some devious cop on Orange County Sheriff's or some other police department that has gotten away with murder, rape, or whatever else, and it ain't black folks they're murdering or raping. That's why you ain't hearing about it, because it's not going to stir the pot on a racial level.
Exactly.
So, we've been on the show now for 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yes.
I think I've given you far enough more information and time than I should allow, because now I got to go check my brake line to make sure the motherfucker ain't cut. But if you folks don't think we're tired and frustrated, I want you to go back and hear Jordan Maxwell, who was on this show a little while ago. Because like myself, Jordan Maxwell said he was tired. Like myself, Jordan Maxwell said we've been doing this for several decades, and nobody wanted to hear what we had to say. And now that this shit's hitting the fan, you think we're supposed to drop everything we're doing to come and entertain your questions. But here's the thing that Jordan Maxwell did, more important than anything else that I noticed. Now you, brother, you wouldn't notice. Jordan Maxwell's 80 years old. Did you hear Jordan Maxwell use any profanity on your show?
No.
Then you need to fucking go back and listen to your own show.
Wait. No, he was pretty PG. Wasn't a rated R show.
Okay, like I said before, you don't listen to the people on your show, and you need to go back and listen to your show, because I heard your show.
Oh, my bad.
And several times on that show, Jordan Maxwell used profanity. And you want to know why? Because just like myself, when I came on your show a while back and I said, I don't give a shit, That's where Jordan Maxwell has gotten now, because I can tell you, as someone who used to do radio shows with Jordan Maxwell and who's been listening to Jordan Maxwell since the late 80s, I never heard Jordan Maxwell use profanity on the show until he was on the show with you. So that means even he now has gotten to the point where he doesn't give a shit. And if you go back and listen to your show with Jordan Maxwell, you will hear him several times use profanity. In fact, one time he was talking about something, and you came up with how you tried to compare it to some U.S. thing, and he goes, well, just because we're doing it doesn't make it the shit bad. But no, you go back and listen to the show. He uses profanity several times in that show, and I was like, damn.
I almost feel bad, like I'm some sort of corrupting force.
And I'm gonna tell you something. Dick Gregory got to the same point. In fact, Dick and I sometimes had to remind ourselves when we were on shows like Carl not to use profanity, because when Dick and I did telephone calls, every other word out of our mouth was fuck or shit, because we're like, dude, this place is fucked up. And these dumbass people don't know what the fuck's going on. I wish people could hear some of the shows, the telephone calls that Dick and I would have. And, I went off on Dick because I got mad at Dick because when they did that movie Selma, they don't mention Dick Gregory except for one line, and it's in a line with Joan Baez, talk about Joan Baez and Dick Gregory are coming out tomorrow. Well, that's bullshit. Dick Gregory got his ass beat in Selma. Dick Gregory was down there. First of all, by the time King had gone there, they had already tried that march twice. King didn't go down there to the third march because he was so busy worried about losing his wife, because J. Edgar Hoover was planting all this evidence about him fucking around on his wife. So, people watch that movie Selma and think, once again, that's a historically accurate movie. It's bullshit. And I was pissed because, Dick was getting up there years and years, and Dick never gets credit for the shit he's done.
Right.
And so when that movie came out, Dick and I were on the phone, and I was just going at it. He's like, brother, don't let it go, man. Just let it go. And I was pissed. I'm like, but I said, Greg, I know you got. I go, dude, you got your ass. He goes, yeah, I got beat there. And they don't even show anything about Dick Gregory, and they mention him in one fucking sentence with a white singer, Joan Baez. That's it. If you are listening, you won't even hear that name mentioned in the movie. That's the kind of disrespect Dick Gregory got before he died.
Damn.
Seriously. And then when I have these damn ignorant Negroes come on my Facebook and attack me now and try to suggest, because they look at my photographs with my white female surfers, that I must be something other than down with the black cause, I go, that's interesting, because I'm the only person on the planet that Dick Gregory told everybody, keep this brother close.
Right.
So what do? So when I say that, you know what they do? They attacked Dick Gregory and said that he was senile for the last 15 years.
Oh, get out of here.
I'm just telling you what's being put out there. Because we have lost our fucking minds.
Right.
The system is working, folks. Divide and conquer. You're not only dividing blacks, browns, yellows, and whites from each other, you have now divided within the black, brown, white, and yellow infrastructures.
Wow.
That's how far down we've gotten to. So when somebody does take it to the streets, it won't matter, because there'll be so much disorganization, you'll be put down very quickly. And if you think U.S. armed forces wouldn't shoot your ass, you're stupid to think that. Because the reason I mentioned okay, let me just put it this way. During the Vietnam War, you went to war twice. If you tried to go a third time, they would send you to a psychiatrist. Now you got these motherfuckers who've been over there 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 times. People are proudly touting them like they're some fucking heroes. No, they're losers. They can't get a job back here in this country, and the only fucking time they feel like they're somebody is over in another country killing a raghead.
Damn.
Okay? And they will fucking just as quickly kill you if it means getting paid the money they get and being put on a pedestal as being some bitching guy, because you're nothing but a civilian swine. And when I'm on, and I run Navy SEAL Facebook sites, I run Marine Corps Facebook sites, and these motherfuckers do, only out of respect for me sometimes, they kind of bite their tongues, but the younger ones, they do their research because they want to come back and prove that I'm full of shit. So, of course, I've never had any love or respect for Mattis. And now the official Marine Corps Chronicle Facebook site is telling everybody to listen to Mattis. I'm like, You can love the Marine Corps and not love Mattis.
I
And
still,
I tell him I haven't had any respect for Mattis since he relieved Colonel Dowdy over there in the war. Thank God Colonel Dowdy was able to get a job at NASA and move on to bigger and better things. So all these motherfuckers are attacking me because these motherfuckers are cult followers, man. Talking all this shit. They don't know shit about Mattis other than what they think they know, right?
right.
And so it was so great because right after I posted this and I got attacked by all these fucking Marines and wives and all this, Trump came out and attacked Mattis and said Mattis was the most overrated general in U.S. history. So I just posted, I go, it's not often that I agree with Herr Trump, but even a broken clock can be correct twice a day. So for all you folks out there right now, just look it up. Donald Trump disrespects Mattis. So now even within their fucking realm, they got a civil war coming.
Yeah.
Because you got the folks who worship Donald Trump, who had also worshipped Mattis. Now they're putting on my site, well, fucking Trump never went to war. So what I'm saying is 5 minutes earlier, had I badmouthed Trump, these motherfuckers would have jumped all over me. But because I put that on there that Mattis was disrespected by Trump, now they're going up against Trump. And that's what they want to do because, see, Trump has to be taken down because he got rid of Bolton and several other John Birch Society guys to help put him where he is. And he doesn't realize who helped put him where he is.
Oh.
And just like that with JFK, JFK allowed his brother Bobby to go after the fucking
the
mob, not knowing who put Trump in the fucking White House. I mean, who put Kennedy and John Kennedy in the White House? So they had to take him out.
And they did. And unfortunately, we know John Birch Society true homeland or stronghold is Southern California. So President Trump would be in danger of a bad day in Dallas.
Dude, we don't go down that road. That's not my point. They don't have to take him out that way. They didn't take Nixon down that way.
No, they didn't.
They impeached him.
Yeah.
Well, no. When he already knew he was going to be impeached, he resigned before he got impeached.
Yes.
And I just told you what I've been told is Trump is trying to cut a deal so his family will not face criminal prosecution, and they may end up leaving and going to a country that doesn't have extradition with the U.S. And
Wow.
I'm just telling you.
This is sad. We should at least have respect for the office, as citizens.
We lost respect for the office when they put Trump in because most of these white motherfuckers believe if you can put a nigger in the White House, then anybody could be president.
That's unfortunately the case.
Hey, that's what happened.
There's such a better way, Yao. There is a better way.
It's your fault.
What? It's my fault. It's not my fault.
You're the one over there in damn Missouri letting Trump get what's his name? Rush Limbaugh getting a bust in his honor in Missouri and everything. So,
Well, we got so little resources back here. We have to be happy with whatever hits the national scene. And it's pretty sad that you're right. In many ways, it is all of our fault that this great nation and the reason why I say it's great, before we get any misunderstanding, is because a lot of good men and women died. They grew up in this nation for hundreds of years. I'm talking about good people. And all this crazy crap that Mark will explain to us this afternoon has directly impacted our lives now. Now we know. Now no one can leave. After listening to the show, you cannot in clear conscience say you don't know what's going on. You really can't.
And as in clear conscience, like I always tell you, don't believe anything I say. Do your own damn homework and stop relying on other people who have a hidden agenda who you don't even know to be the people that you repeat because they have a reason for lying to you. Okay? After more than 25 plus years of appearing on radio shows, I've never had somebody being able to come on the show and honestly say that I provided you with misinformation, disinformation, or lied to you. So now that it is 1500 and my tapeworm is awake, I want to thank you for allowing me to come on today. I hope that you make a copy of this show, because I'm going to tell you, this show is going to piss a lot of people off.
Oh, yes.
But that was my purpose, because I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm here to share facts with you. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Yes, yeah. Wow, this has been a long show, but it was informative. I do appreciate the callers. I know I couldn't get to all the questions. I totally accept that. Like I said, I really wasn't prepared for this show. The universe just wanted it to happen. This was my fate. This was our fate. I just want to say thank you for all you guys that hung in here to the bitter end. This will conclude TPIM SR Live. Today's date, October 18, 2019, the year of our Lord. I ask you to live your life of integrity without hate, envy, or greed. And as always, brothers and sisters, let's try to be kinder to each other. Peace, power, unity, victory, and liberation. I'm out.